Yes, guys, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel, Spurs Talk Show right here. It's your game day post debrief, the digest, if you like. And what a night it was to be a Spurs fan. Look, we're only halfway through the tie, but a much needed, somewhat semi-result, I guess you'd call it, against the best team in the world. When was the last time Liverpool didn't score? When was the last time that we kept a clean sheet? When was the last time that everyone should universally feel a deep sigh of relief, a massive sense of pride in your team, the players, the shifts they put in to a man, even the players that Johnny and I go hard on. They might not have had brilliant games yesterday, some of them or all of them, but they certainly put in a shift towards the end of the second half of Champions. And we got 1 foot tentatively dipping our toe in the potential pool of a Carabao Cup final, the first in 4 years. And my word, if Tottenham Hotspur can find a way to get past Liverpool, and obviously then get past whoever the winner of that other tie will be, I don't think that there is going to be another cup victory that has required a team like Tottenham to beat so many difficult teams along the path. Coventry, City, United, Liverpool over 2 legs, and then one of Newcastle and Arsenal. An absolute story. We got Johnny here, part of the furniture. We love Johnny. And we've got him here to talk us through his take on what was just a brilliant night. Johnny, how you doing, my man?
Listen, I'm still buzzing, to be honest with you. I mean, listen, you know, a lot of us went into that game with a bit of trepidation, you know, with the injuries, what keeper would go in, you know, would the kids be able to stack up? Had we learned anything from the 6-3 defeat? We certainly had. And I know I criticised Ange, and I've said on these streams many, many times, although I criticise Ange, and rightly so, I believe, in the moment, because what people don't seem to realise is we deal with the moment. We do match by match. And whilst I said, you know, not sure if I can see him pulling through and getting it right at the end. When it goes right, and it has gone right, then I'll be the first one to come up here and say so. You know, one swallow doesn't make a summer, but let me tell you, the last 2 performances against Newcastle and last night definitely seemed to be a change of character. Now, I don't know whether that's the likes of the Madisons and co are not there, and the kids have come in and they're hungry, but there was a tenacity, there was a fight, there was a will last night with absolutely everybody. And you know, I think that the whole stadium could feel that. And it lifts the stadium. It lifted me, it lifted the boring people who sat near me last night. But, you know, it was fantastic. And like you said, could there be a more deserving finalist ever than a team like Spurs, who would have had to have beaten, as you say, Man United, Coventry, Liverpool, maybe, and Man United. And listen,
exactly.
One thing I would say is, we wouldn't even be in this situation had Destiny Udogie not got injured, because it was the second half. Coventry were absolutely smashing us. They missed chance after chance after chance. Destiny went off, and on came Jed Spence. And
we're not calling him Jed Spence anymore, Johnny. We are calling the man,
the Jedi,
thrown you Jedley King.
Because
nobody has ever put Mo Salah in a pocket.
Yeah, got to pick a pocket or two, boy.
Listen, let me just get into saying hello to the chat. We've got lots to talk about, because I do think there's a lot of sort of, how do I say this? A lot of room for interpretation here, depending on how you see it. You're going to see it maybe differently to me. I think the chat will maybe see it differently to all of us. And I want to find out how everyone's takes are. But I do think that there is, look, for those people who have been quite harsh on Ange, I have had my moments where I've been harsh on Ange for not adapting, for not changing. On Last Word on Spurs a couple of days ago, when I was talking to Ben Jacobs and Ricky Sachs, I made a long-winded question that I had to incorporate, as I do, my own opinion a little bit. And I said that, you know, I think that maybe Ange says one thing and sometimes does another. And I think that maybe we are guilty now of, unless we're going to appreciate this, for those people that are on the kind of Ange out, or like the kind of frustrated side of the fan base, and I get it. Like I say, everyone's opinion's fine and valid, and there's no wrong opinions at Tottenham, because everything is We're so close, but so far for so long. But those that are very frustrated with Ange, one of the primary reasons for it is because of it's who we are. I'm stubborn. I'm tactically naive. I'm not going to change. I'm going to die on the hill, right?
Yeah.
And I think over the last 270 minutes of football, but primarily the last 180 minutes of football.
It's last two games. Yeah, 100%.
Anybody that is sitting here saying that Ange is not adapting, or that the team at least are not playing different versions of football, I mean, I don't know what they're watching. I think we are not playing the same version of Ange ball that we were at Christmas or in November or in October. And I think that has to be, whether it's by hook or by crook, whether it's by force because of injuries.
But that's what I was going to ask you. I was going to ask you. So, Sean, I was going to ask you this very question. So, do you think that he was forced into this situation due to the opposition and the team he was having to put out, and by default he's found this system and it's worked, right? Or he's I'm not saying default, I was going to say, or he's by design. Now he's found it by design or default, right? Because I'm going to give him credit. I'm going to give him credit that he did it by design. Is he going to revert when the players come back and the full team are there? Is he going to revert back to the same system, or is he going to look at this and say, you know what, this is the way forward? Because there was everything to like about last night's setup, especially in the second half, where we changed it up significantly. I just think, you know,
it doesn't matter, Johnny. Even if we do go back to a degree, I think that Ange should look at the performance of the team, and also recognise, I've been saying this, and I don't like to give myself a pat on the back, but I do occasionally because I've got an ego like everybody else. But I've been saying this for ages, that Tottenham are a team that are going to benefit massively from the first time that you make the change. Predictability is the worst ability. Unpredictability is the second best ability. And I've been harping on this drum that if Tottenham just change once, if we do it just once, then the team that you're playing against, you should benefit from, because they will have prepared for the Ange ball plan A, and they won't be prepared for whatever you do differently. And if you look at the heat maps of the wide guys, they are far wider. They're far more balanced. There's before Pedro Porro was more the heat maps. Look at it, inverted and also very high, right? When you have 70% possession. Now, and I guess it's because of Newcastle and Liverpool as well, because they're teams that also like to have the ball. There's no red spots; they're orange, and they blend the entire kind of middle third of the pitch, if you like, and even going back defensively, and they're far wider. And as I said before, doing that just once, it means that the next managers coming up, they don't have the ability to just presume that Ange is going to do Ange ball plan A all the time. The second that you bring in a plan B or just a different version where you're kicking the ball long, then forevermore, every manager has to go, well, I don't know now whether Ange is going to do Ange A or Ange B. And that's great, right? That means that they have less time to prepare for either or. The SWOT analysis has to be deeper. And so I don't mind, mate, if we get some of our injured players back and he wants to go back to high possession, high line for a little while, I don't mind it, because at least it will mean that the other teams won't know, and we can then maybe benefit from having a team that has set up for both occurrences, and therefore we can take advantage of the plan A again.
Yeah, if
plan A could become like it was in the first 10 games again, when teams didn't know what to expect. If you understand where I'm going with that kind of
No, I just listen. All I've ever asked for him to be is to be flexible and to look at the team you're facing and the team you're having to put out. You know, it's all very well, having your full strength team out and going gung ho, but we couldn't have gone like that last night. Had we gone completely gung ho last night, Sean, as we did early days, we would have paid the price. But we set up different. Even the goalkeeper. Did you hear the cheer inside the stadium, Sean?
Oh,
hang on. When Kinski kicked the ball long. When Kinski kicked the ball long, and when he kicked that ball to Sonny, how good was the ball to Sonny, which he didn't really control?
That kind of whipped. It was like a whip, almost like a goal fade. He kind of opened his foot up and just sort of chopped at it like a tree.
And the crowd just went, "Whoa! What's going on?" What's
Mate,
going on?
I know you were with your boys in the East stand last night, but the South stand was rocking. Scott, on your bike, Scott, if you're in the house, I mean, you were right there next to me, or right down the seats from me. All the boys from We Are Tottenham City, Barry, Nick, you know, all the crew were back. Jim from Oso Spurs. We all got together beforehand. The South stand was rocking, mate. The atmosphere was incredible. It was like it was you know, something that's been sorely missed at Tottenham for the last few months.
Yeah.
And Tony Kinski was a massive part of that, mate. We are going to talk about that. So I haven't even said hello to people yet. 10 minutes in. Let me just quickly say hello to everyone. Everyone that I've already said hello to you guys. Blaine Devlin, big up my man. Listen, I mean, look, barbershop, butcher shop. Yeah, maybe. The guy gave me a fantastic.
He went for a Turkish. He went for a Turkish. He went for a Turkish and ended up having his face cut. Yeah,
yeah, it was delicious. I've never had the full treatment before, and it was sensational. He was wrong with Ben. Yeah, Ben, you weren't. Well, you didn't. No one knew, mate. No one knew, bro. And look, he was. Hopefully, he's just a concussion. And I didn't. When you saw that video of him doing that, like you thought really horrible things, right? But apparently, that was just the way he prepares for a corner.
Come on. Listen, look. You know, people were arguing with me right next to me. They said, he's been challenged. He went to head it. He's an idiot. He went to header the ball and he missed it. I said, no. His legs have gone. His legs gone when he hit the ground. You know, I posted.
I think he smashed his head. Right. I think. Like when I saw that video of him doing it like that, I thought, oh, that looks. I don't want to say like a stroke or something, but it looked horrendous. But apparently, none of that was true. Apparently, he literally just dived for the ball, contorted his neck to try and flick it on. And then he put his arm out and his arm slid on the wet ground. And then therefore he just got no purchase and just smashed his head. And that was the long and the short of it. So it's just a giant concussion, you know, apparently. I'm not a doctor. I've watched a couple of videos by doctors.
What I saw is I've got a video on Insta of him actually going, and it looked like his legs just gave way and he hit the deck. But it looks like something happened prior to him actually hitting the deck. Yeah. Anyway, listen.
Yeah, that's what I thought as well. But yeah. Anyway, look, good. Hopefully he's okay. He's conscious at hospital. I think he's at home now. So I just presumed he'd be out for the season. With
hopefully he comes back and he thinks he's Rodri.
But look, if he comes back, mate, he's going to have a difficult time getting the starting 11 after what we saw last night. We're going to come to that. Just quickly, Mick, good to see you, mate. Samantha, anyone think that Virgil should have been sent off with the studs on Solanke's calf that got missed by? I didn't see that. Haven't seen it. Don't know. The Jedi Spence had Salah contained again, 100%. I mean, unbelievable. We're going to talk about him because I think Johnny needs his props for his faith in that boy, Johnny's boy. And listen, Johnny and I have remained true and faithful about the Lucas BERGVALL. Yeah. I'll be honest, I didn't have the faith. It's not like I lost it. I just didn't know about Jed Spence, and I believed what I was told, that he's an attitude issue. But Johnny, you've stood by your boy, and you should feel very.
Well, I knew different, obviously, for obvious reasons.
Yeah, I know, mate. I know. Yeah. Nice to see the pre-match thoughts of the Hamburg fan. Yeah, that was incredible. I did a walkthrough last night. I don't know if you've seen it. I did a walkthrough before the game, one take Tottenham walkthrough, and I must have asked 20 people, 20 different groups. 12 of them said, maybe 15 of them said no, not interested. And the 5 that I managed to get, 4 of them were, one of them was a Saudi Arabian lad who was over here for 5 days and took in the Arsenal game the night before. And he had a half and half scarf with the Liverpool side out. Which, you know, anyway, he said he was a Tottenham fan, and he talked like a Tottenham fan. Then I spoke to some Dutch people. Then I spoke to some Germans. And then I spoke to a South African lad. And in between there, I only actually got 2 interviews with season ticket holder, you know, local fans. But like I say, all valuable, all very interesting.
So who were the Hamburg fans? Who were the Hamburg fans?
So the German couple that I had to speak German to for a few seconds to show off.
What was your German like? About like Fulton horses. What is your name? Yeah.
Exactly, something like that. Yeah, 100%. But it was. No, and then basically I asked them a couple of questions, and they were about like, I don't know. I asked them, "What's your transfer plans? What do you think of Ange?" And they were like,
"Who's your favourite player?" Looking
I should have asked about Timo Werner.
Yeah.
Should have asked about Timo. But yeah, look, it was an interesting insight. The last one I did, everyone was Ange. I still haven't found an Ange out person at the stadium though. Even off the camera, still can't. Any people that I know might be Ange out that I meet, but people that are strangers to me, if I walk around and just have conversations, haven't found a single person that has anything but
Angie's wife. Angie's wife probably. Take the money and let's go. Buy a house.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. Yeah, exactly. EMFC, hi mate, good to see you. Finn's here as well. Spurs sat a lot deeper than usual last night. Result, clean sheet and a win. 100%, mate. This is the thing. I think that Ange, I hope Ange, to answer your question, Johnny, I don't really mind if he does go back to plan A, because I think that you might then see a little bit of a return of the fact that other teams don't know which version of Tottenham they're going to get. And I'm maybe, stretching this a little bit here, but if we go back to plan A immediately, then it's probably going to be more problems. But if we can, throw in a little bit of variety, we're just as good at counter-attacking as we are with the ball, So I don't know why we don't take advantage of that and keep the opposition guessing, and then maybe we can have a really good one.
Can I just say that, fast break goals this season, I think we've now got 9 or 10. Last season, the whole of last season, we had 3. The best season we'd ever had up until this season was 9 under Pochettino in 2019. So he has changed that. And I really do think that is the way to go. I really do think that we are a better team when we hit on the counter. I really do. I mean, having possession's great, but when we counter, when we've got, forget Sonny, because Sonny right now is really struggling. But the way that BERGVALL moved the ball,
he's struggling with the ball. He's struggling without the ball. Like when we counter, he's no good. When we do possession, he's no good. He's lost his desire to take players on. He's got no confidence.
But look at the pace we moved the ball, and when we get Mikey Moore and Yang in, and whether MUANI comes or not, the pace that we have with Spence, Porro, moving that ball forward, Micky Van De Ven, I just think that the counter, we are more dangerous that way, rather than trying to maintain the ball when teams come in a low block, and like Newcastle did to us the other week. Have the ball. You can have the ball all day long, like they did with Arsenal, sitting 2 banks of 5 or 5-4-1. You can have the ball all day. I just think we look so much more exciting like that. I loved it last night. I really did. And I don't know. I think that, I've said this to you before. I don't believe in the term backups. Oh, we can sign him. He'll be a big back. He'll be a great backup.
Good depth. Good depth, that guy. No.
Yeah. I mean, listen, look, as far as I'm concerned, clubs who have great ambition, who want to be something, they have competition in every single space. And I think
look at Liverpool.
Yeah, look at James Maddison last night. He's probably sat on that bench. Look at Vicario's face. The hug last night, there was a look on his face that sort of said, shit.
Oh, shit.
Right? And James Maddison last night, I earn the right. I have the right to play. No, you don't have the right to play for Spurs. You have to earn the right to play. And BERGVALL earned the right after that Newcastle game. Like I said to you, he deserved to start last night, because I've known, since QPR pre-season, as soon as I saw him, I just knew that this kid was the real deal. And I just, it's frightening. Him at 18, Gray at 18.
Oh, mate, we've got to talk about them. We've got to talk about them, mate. Like, honest to God, like these. You know what? How do I start this? I don't want to be the guy who wants to create that device. I don't want to do that. I've been guilty of doing it since my return. Like, the different version of me, the stressed out version of me. I've been kind of a little bit kind of problematic, saying shit I shouldn't. That's not what I want to do, and I don't like it about me. I don't like that version of me, and I don't want to do it today because there's no need, right? I feel like everyone should be able to just go. Enjoy the performance. Enjoy the win. It wasn't a great game, right? It wasn't a great game.
No,
but
technically, it was shocking.
If you are people that do want to sit there and say, "I told you so," and revel in the glory of being right when we play badly, you can't really be upset with people who want to then come and pile on you when we do have that victory. And people make a rod for their own backs but it's people on both sides are guilty of it, right? Like people on the pro Ange, pro Tottenham, positivity, happy clappers, whatever you want to call it, they're going to be piling in today and last night. And then if we lose, the other side will be piling in. It would be so much better if we could all just go, like, everyone wants what's best for Tottenham. Just some people have different perspectives of what that looks like. And we shouldn't be taking the chance to one-up each other. If we can, it would be so much nicer if we could all just accept that other people have different styles of opinions and different vibes. But it's never going to be that way because football is tribalistic. And so at best, all we should be able to do, Johnny, is be able to laugh it off and just enjoy treat it as banter rather than nasty, if that makes sense.
Yeah, listen, you can't be right all the time. And I've said to you on this stream, on Dave, on the Irish Hotspur, on Last Word of Spurs, I would be delighted if I'm sat here with a trophy in hand and me having to say, you know what, I was wrong about Ange. I don't have a problem with it, you know. What I saw last night, even if we'd ended up with a draw, I would have been happy, to be honest with you. Pre-match.
Do you know how many people I spoke to outside the stadium? I didn't capture it all on camera. Didn't capture any of it on camera. But I asked the guys that I did get on camera because people outside were saying, I'll take a 1-0 deficit. I'll lose 2-1 here so we can go there and still be in the game. I never felt that way. You remember on Devil's Advocate yesterday, I predicted a 3-1 win. I went there thinking, I just got a good feeling because I think Ange is a cup manager. I just got a vibe with him that we're going to go far. I think we're going to do well in the FA Cup. Not sure about Europe. He hasn't really got a track record in Europe doing too well. But domestic cups, I've just got a feeling that we're going to. I think we're going to get past Liverpool. I really do, and I don't know what will happen in the final because Newcastle are a team that play the dark arts very well. And to be fair, I saw Ange last night effing and blinding at the assistant ref, right? Who was terrible. The West Stand side assistant ref. He wasn't flagging for any of the fouls that were happening. He wasn't even flagging when the ball was blatantly out of play. He missed the offside flag. He missed 2 others that affected Liverpool and Tottenham in the second half and the first half. And Ange was like berating the lino. And I feel like it's nice to see a bit of animation from him. And it's nice to see that he's happy to, because Arteta does it all the time, right? And he doesn't get any
punishment. I loved it, Sean.
But he doesn't get punished. Yeah,
no, Sean, I loved it. I absolutely loved it. And how ironic that the crowd was singing, "Who's the wanker in the blue?" Right? And he ended up being the guy who allowed us to win that game last night by not giving him the second yellow, because he could have given him the second yellow, even if though the first one wasn't a yellow. But you know how ironic that we slagged him off for the whole game, and then it came to pass that he missed that one. Maybe all the grief of "who's the wanker in the blue" so many times, you don't know what you're doing.
Well, and yeah, it definitely has an effect, mate. They're human beings as well. But what I would say is that both Ange and Arne Slot both came out and confirmed that there's this new rule that we weren't aware of, but that the managers are. And the new rule apparently is if you take someone out, but that player stays up and they play advantage, then as long as the foul isn't egregious or cynical, then they don't go back for the yellow card, which I think is just madness. Like, I know it benefited us last night.
Tsimikas went off injured, didn't he, after that tackle?
He might have done, yeah. Look, I don't know. I think you're right. Yeah, I think you're right. But like, it might have benefited us last night, but it's gone against us several times in the last few years. Against Newcastle, it went against us. But to me, I just feel like, I just think it's stupid. Like, why should you benefit because the other team stayed on their feet and were honest? All it's going to do, because what would you, in a situation where a player's on a second yellow, like BERGVALL was, or even if it's early in the game, right, and a keeper, a defender, or a fullback, or a midfielder, defensive midfielder, if they make a cynical challenge or a challenge that should be booked, the other team stay on their feet because they hope that there's going to maybe materialise a chance, but ultimately probably won't and will fizzle out. Even if there is a chance, it won't necessarily take it, and then the other player gets away with the yellow card because you were honest and stayed on your feet. It doesn't make any sense. It's like, why should you benefit for fouling someone because they were trying to be a bigger man than taking advantage? All that's going to happen is the manager with dark arts are going to say, forget that, just roll over. And then you're going to have more injury time, more like stoppages, more like
I'm all for that. I've got to be honest with you. I know Ange doesn't like the extra time, but I do. I remember a game against Newcastle, funny enough, I think where we had 58 minutes of football out of the 90 because it was stop-start. You know, it was very funny. After he made the challenge, BERGVALL came over to where I stood in the East Stand, and he was literally bent over double like this with his hands down, doing up his shoelaces. It must have been, it was like what he spent so much time down there. It was like a 3-year-old trying to learn how to do up their shoes for the very first time, just to hide himself. And I'm trying to think who it was that came over. I don't know if it was Jed Spence or Bissouma that came up and said, stay down, right?
Oh, no,
you know?
so that's what I think you saw. When Sonny was about to get substituted, but he was still on his feet, and Andrew was coming out going, sit down. When Kinski had the ball and was about to play it out, and Andrew's screaming at Sonny. I was like, well done, Ange. You're dark-hearting it, bro. About time.
He doesn't like it.
Let's educate Ange on the skill of the dark arts. Let's become a little bit more like Newcastle. Not to that
you
extent.
have to, Sean.
Yeah,
you have to. If you listen, if everyone's doing the dark arts and you say, I'm going to be righteous, no one cares.
What's going to happen?
Righteous when you're getting beaten by shithousery, and it's happening
100%.
every week. You know, Arsenal are the masters of shithousery. I mean, Martinelli, the amount of times he's going down and, you know, rolling around, screaming, the hand up. It was shocking.
By the way, there's 2 people I want to praise for Jed Spence for having the faith. One of them is this man right next to me here, Johnny Boy. And the other one is Daniel Levy, you know, because it was his signing, right, Johnny? It was his signing. He was the one who pushed that one through.
Listen, he tried to get rid of him again. Let me tell you right now, there are many clubs. There was lots of clubs interested in him in the summer, and they didn't allow him to go because Ange told him he wanted him as part of his squad. He was an important member of the squad, and then dumped him out of the Europa squad, which was a real kick in the nuts. He said, "Don't worry, you'll be in the cup," and then he gets dropped for the Coventry game. For Archie Gray right back. And as we all know, as I mentioned earlier, without repeating myself, had it not been for the injury to Destiny, Spence would not have been on that pitch. And we wouldn't even be in this position. We'd be out the cup because it was his 87th minute goal that got us through. But this isn't even the best of Jed Spence, what you're seeing at the moment, because he's playing out on the left. He's run.
Mate, but this guy, well, we're going to come to him. We're going to go through each of the players in a second. I've got a few super chats, but what I do want to just start. Actually, I'll do the super chats first, and then we'll start the categorization of the game and the players and everything. By the way, guys, I've shot through a lot. I've missed out saying hello to a lot of people. I just want to do it because we're half an hour in now. Massive shout out to all of you being here on a Thursday lunchtime. I hope you're all happy and healthy doing the things you love with those you love to do them with, like right now, hopefully. Smash the like button if you don't mind. Hit the subscribe if you haven't already. Really appreciate the support. The channel's after that whack on the numbers. I don't know what happened there, but they've all flown back in and they've just gone on to new levels. So the channel's at the highest it's been. So I really appreciate all the support. And but I need you guys also to show some support back, not only to me, but also to Johnny Boy. So let me get rid of this comment for a second, and you can see where you can find Johnny right now on X, on Twitter. He's bringing back his spaces, which are always a brilliant listen. So Johnny H3222 on Twitter, and obviously he was the horrible recipient of a whack on his Instagram where he lost all of his subs. So he's got to start again. So talking Tottenham 1882.
6,000 down to 6,000 down to I think I've got 92 at the moment, and I had some great stuff over there over the last 2 years of games, clips, little arguments, tackles, and stuff like that. So that's what I try and post there, little individual clips from games and bits and pieces. So if you are on Instagram, please give us a follow. Talking Tottenham 1882. I'm trying to get my other account back, but
look, there's the announcement. We've been saying this for ages. Johnny and I we're obviously going to be starting a new channel. We might even start 2 channels, to be honest. We've got so much we want to talk about: football finance. We want to talk about bigger picture stuff. One of the topics that I'd love to be able to get Johnny's take on at the end of the show, if we have time, is the ridiculous story about Barcelona that has been confirmed today, that they've managed to sell VIP boxes on an unbuilt stadium in the future to bring in money now that has brought revenue in, that has now allowed them to get back to a 1-for-1 on the FFP, and in so doing by proxy be able to register I think obviously Danny Olmo is one, and I forget the other name. It's another demonstration of the rules not being fit for purpose, another demonstration that the lawyers win. And guess what? There's going to be certain people that are going to be paying a lot of attention to that. Teams like Everton, probably going to not let Todd Bowley. Yeah, Everton have got a new stadium that they're just about to build. So Jim Ratcliffe, yeah, exactly right. There's going to be a hell of a lot of new ways. If these things are allowed to happen, then there's going to be a hell of a lot of new ways and new mannerisms, mechanisms to be able to front load the revenue in before you have to deliver a product or service for it.
Could we sell rooms to a hotel? Levy could sell rooms to the hotel.
Yeah, he could sell. He could sell future dinner. He could sell dinners for one in the Sky Bar or whatever. He could sell, Valentine's specials in 2045. Like, honest to God, that is where we're going with this. If you pay now, the revenue comes in for future promises. It is insane. And we're talking about the dark arts on the football pitch. Maybe Daniel Levy needs to start engaging in the dark arts on the business side, because he's brilliant at doing it by the book. But if we're competing with people and teams that can do it off the book, so to speak, then I'm not going to criticize Daniel Levy, because I don't think it's right to criticize people for living by the rules. But if you keep looking, and you don't have to look far, you can see a never-ending example of demonstrations that the rules aren't worth what they're written on. And so Daniel Levy needs to, wake up.
It's the same as Ange. It's the same as Ange. It's a parallel. One's on the football pitch and one's off it. He needs to adapt the dark arts on the football pitch, because everybody else is. And if you want to be the sole good person who is abiding by the laws, you're going to die by it. And the same with Levy. If he wants to, abide by FFP and PSR, and nobody else is, and people aren't getting punished. I mean, what happened to the January announcement, Sean?
It's next week. It's in 5 days' time. I think Leicester are going to be the only team that are going to fall foul.
Well, we were told, by people.
I think it's on the 13th.
Everton were there was very little chance that Everton would not miss it for another year of breaking the FFP, right? There was no way of avoiding it. So unless the incoming has managed to do something with the books.
Well, no, I mean, look, the Friedkin Group have only just taken over. So these rules are based on what happened from last year, right? So
correct. I don't understand.
You finish the books in June the 31st, and then they have 6 months to get the detail across to the Premier League, and then the Premier League have to finish their audit by the end of December, and then we find out. I think it's on the 13th, so next Monday, I think it is. But yeah, in terms of what I've read and seen and heard, again, I don't know. I just go off of what's in the news, but apparently Leicester are the team that's most at risk, and possibly Everton again. But in terms of Arsenal or Newcastle or Chelsea or whatever, there's no noise that anything's going to happen there. Probably because we haven't heard about it yet, but probably Chelsea have sold, as I say, their left foot to their right foot on a temporary loan.
Well, they sold their hotel to themselves, didn't they?
Yeah, they sold their hotel to themselves or to a third party that's essentially owned by the same thing. Like I say, it's just shenanigans, right? And we've got the ability to do the same thing. We are owned by ENIC, who have multiple properties. So I don't understand why we're not doing it. And that comes back, I guess, to the ambition conversation. And so on that basis, I'm happy to acknowledge that Daniel Levy needs to see the wood for the trees. And it's one thing to not want to take steroids if you're in the Tour de France, but if you want to actually win the thing and everyone else is on the steroids, if you've got to beat Lance Armstrong, sometimes you have to act
I thought they were on Lucasade. I thought they just drank Lucasade.
Let's get to these super chats, mate, and then we're going to get into the specifics of the game. There's 550 people here. Incredible for a Thursday.
We know any
digest. Well, we know a few of them. I met a few of them last night. I met a lot of them last night. There were so many people. Do you know what? Also, last night, every time someone came up to me, it was all the introductory question was, "Are you Sean?" I said, "Yeah." He goes, "How's Bugsy?" I know who the draw is on the Spurs Talk Show. I'm very aware. Vineet Kai Mao, thank you very much for the super chat. Question: will Ange? Oh, what question? Will Ange supersede Poch if he wins the League Cup? Johnny, I'll let you take this one, mate. What question?
I would say, well, he does theoretically, because he's won a trophy and Poch didn't. But was one day Ramos a better coach than Pochettino? No, but he won a trophy. So I think longevity. It was interesting. It was interesting for a guy like Ange, who says he only likes to stay a couple of years and then move on, 2 to 3 years max. And then there he was last night talking about BERGVALL and Gray, saying that he hopes to God that he's there to see them ripen and mature.
He doesn't want to be the guy before the guy. He wants to be the guy.
He wants to be the guy. He wants to be the guy before the guy, right?
Yeah, he wants to be both. Yeah.
So that, I like it. That's saying, that's another 3 years, and 3 years he'll only be 21 years of age. So he'll be 5 years in the job. Practically, he'll be getting on for 5 years. If he achieved 5 years in the job, that would have meant that he would have been a success. And we'll all be sitting here, we'll be praising him and talking about what a great job he's done. And I hope that's the case, even though I've had my doubts. And I still have doubts.
Of course. Look, if you've got a manager that wants to play great football, then you should want to see him here in 5 years' time, because ultimately you're only going to see that if he's done well. Right. And so if he does do well and he plays good football, then that's what everyone wants. So everyone should want him to succeed, even if you don't think he will. And you ultimately think that right now there's not enough for me to buy into, for example. And that's why you want him gone. If that's how you feel, not you, but anyone, then so be it. But ultimately, if you want the manager gone that hasn't yet gone, you should hope that you're wrong, because if you're wrong, then that means that he's done a good job, right? That's just logic, surely.
100%. And this one here, the super chat from Tom Jones. Is that Tom Jones?
Oh, Tom Jones. Oh,
unusual. It's not unusual for people who think that BERGVALL will be our Monster Six. No, for me, in fact, I was discussing it with some football people today, and we were discussing he's an 8 to 10. I like him further forward. I think he's an 8 to 10. If you think of Archie Gray as the 6 and BERGVALL as the 8 and the 10, 8 or the 10.
He's not a 10, mate. He's not a 10. I don't think
he's definitely an 8. He's 100%.
He's an 8. He's an 8. He's a driving marauder. He's a late arrival to the box. What he did in that second half.
I'm telling you, he's capable. He is capable. You look at his passing. Wait till he gets more confident. And you know how good he is in the air, mate.
Listen, I love him. I literally love it. I think he is going to be. I almost prefer him. And this is hard because I think both of them are sensational. I almost like him more than Archie Gray. I think Archie Gray is absolutely. Archie Gray is one of my favourite players. But there's something about Lucas BERGVALL. His desire to get on the ball. He's looking up. It's just so refreshing to see someone so young to be unintimidated, unencumbered by the pressure. He doesn't seem to feel it. He's on it. He's not afraid to tackle the big boys. He's not afraid to get into spats. He doesn't roll around when he gets elbowed by a 6'5" monster in Joe Linton, or 6'3", whatever he is. Absolute cruiser.
His peripheral vision.
Incredible.
The way he scans the field, and he knows where he's passing that ball, but he doesn't pass the ball and stand there. He's already in motion after he's released the ball to try and get on the ball again.
I don't know if because he would have been a child, like a baby, when Xavi and Iniesta were doing the Barcelona, untouchables or whatever you want to call them. But Xavi and Iniesta, both of those guys in that double pivot in the midfield, every 2 seconds, looking around, just scanning. And he does exactly the same thing before he gets the ball. When he's released it, after he's got the ball, he's always looking for space and he wants it. He's always presenting himself, going, "I'm open." And do you know what? Listen, we're gonna. I've got to finish this next super chat, but we'll talk about BERGVALL now because he's there. I personally don't think he's a 10. I don't want him in that spot because I think he's better in an 8. I think he can play the 10. I think he has demonstrated to me that he could be a 6. But I think that he is. Oh, look, we're devil's advocating it for the second time in 2 days, guys. We got Irish Hotspur coming in once he gets his camera on. You lucky people. And listen, I think that the BERGVALL, we don't know what his right role is yet. I'm not sure if he's.
Well, I know he's. Listen, I think for sure that he's an 8. Sean, I mean, he sees himself as an 8-10. But listen, look, you talk about Xavi and Iniesta. Neither of them was 6'2". This guy's not even. BERGVALL hasn't even matured physically yet. Wait till he matures physically, and he's reading of the ball in the air. That's the other thing. His tenacity in the challenge. There's so much, as I said to you, on Devil's Advocate yesterday, when I called the team, and I called the team to you beforehand, for me, BERGVALL has to start.
You were spot on as well, weren't you? You were spot on with the team.
Yeah, I was spot on with the team, but there was a reason why, because I just think we move so much better with him in the middle of the park. There's no backwards and forwards. He looks to progress the ball. Some of the passes that he made were just sublime. Honestly, I haven't got enough words to, I saw him, as I said to you, at QPR, and how he bossed bossed that game. And that the other interception, I don't know if you remember in the first half when it looked like they were going to score, and he flew in from that right-hand side right across the pitch to get the ball out. Yeah. No one else. That's what I'm saying, mate.
That's why he's not. He's when I talk about a monster six, I'm not talking about someone that is a Roy Keane bully, like someone who, because that sort of version of the game is done. I'm talking about someone who has the ability to control the tempo, who can speed it up and slow it down when they want to. I'm talking about someone who's got the peripheral, the ability to ping it long, short with 92, 93% pass accuracy and spin it into areas of the pitch that you don't necessarily see coming. But most importantly, defensively, the ability to intercept, interpret, analyze, and then make that kind of anticipatory movement that can just cut things out in the transition. You don't need someone sliding in all the time, but you need someone to be able to see he's got the ball. We've just lost it up the end of the pitch. He's got this, another guy's got the ball. What's he going to do with it? That's the threat. And then makes the move to intercept. And I see that in Lucas BERGVALL. His ability to see what's going on for 18 years old at this level is just remarkable. And you know what else is remarkable? When you look down and you see my man Dave in the background, cameras are on, and all of a sudden we've got Devil's Advocate for the second time in 2 days. What's happening, Dave? How you doing, buddy?
Good evening, my fellow winners. How are we all?
Delighted, mate. Delighted. I woke up this morning. I've got to be honest. I had 3 Magnums. I didn't drink. I drank 1 beer after the game, and then but I went to the offie and stocked up on some Magnums because I love them. You can't buy them around here, and I had all 3 when I got home. So I woke up this morning with a headache, but I didn't mind. I didn't mind because I woke up and went, what happened yesterday? Oh, that's right. We beat the world's best team in the first leg of the Carabao Cup semi. Sensational.
It's madness, what a big win like that can do for people. You sort of almost brush everything off that's going on. You just have that pep in your step. And look, I think the whole entire fan base and the club needed that sort of big scalp yesterday, that big win. Of course, look, the job isn't done. Maybe a little bit disappointed we didn't take another goal to bring to Anfield with us, but we go there with something to hang on to. And, I just think you look at the run we've had in the cup, I would hope that many people would look at Ange Postecoglou and maybe reanalyze, their initial thoughts on him. Because when you look at it, we beat the big teams, and that's always been Tottenham's struggle when I was growing up. The smaller teams that come in, sit low block, and ask different questions of us, I simply think you sign better forward players, you sort that out. That is something that can be sorted out. I think the reason why we beat the big teams is because our forward line is suited to the counter-attack. But you only play the big teams. You only play the big teams every so often in the league. You only come across them every so often. The majority of teams you will face will play low block. So I think if we get better forward players in here, I think I think Spurs fans could probably start dreaming. To be quite frank with you.
Do you not think, Dave? Like Newcastle did, just give us the ball. That Spurs could adopt this, because before you came on, I don't know if you were listening in the back. I was saying we've scored more fast break goals this year than we ever had. The record was 9 under Pochettino in 2019, and we've already, I think, equaled it or just broken it by 1 already. So something has changed, and I just feel we're better.
Outside of the top 6, though, Johnny, will we really get away with that? And that's where the problem comes in, because. Yeah, we can.
Forest are doing it.
Yeah, but no one's showing Forest the respect that they deserve. It's no one's expecting this from Forest. But with us, teams are going to sit back against us rather than come out and play against us outside of the top 6. And I just don't. I think that's why it's not sustainable to play counter-attacking with this team, and that's why I do think you need to get in better forward players. We had better forward players last night. We beat Liverpool 3-4. We're already talking about being in the final.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think to a man, bar probably one who looked absolutely shattered, Kulu, and one who's just not at the races, Sonny. I think to a man, the rest were exceptional last night. They really were exceptional.
Boys, let me just quickly just take a couple of seconds here, guys. Get over to Johnny on the Instagram channel right there. I don't know why it's got profile card and all that stuff, but Talking Tottenham 1882. If you click that link, it should take you straight to Johnny's subscriber and his Dave channel as well.
I've only joined. I appreciate it, though.
No. Got to spread the love. There's 620 people here right now, guys. Phenomenal numbers for a Thursday, and we love to see it. Thank you very much for the support. Smash the like and subscribe as well. Guys, we've got a couple more super chats I have to bring in. And Dave, I'll let you answer this one, mate, because you brought it up coincidentally as we've got one before that. No, this is the one. Blaine, love you, man. How you doing, buddy? And thanks for the communications with what you saw last night, mate. Guys, any more reliable news on MUANI and other potential incomings? I read there a few minutes ago that Kvaratskhelia has been approached by PSG. I was thinking when I saw you mention his name now, I was like, what, are we saying that we're going to be in for Kvaratskhelia? Because he's the sort of player, he's a workhorse, he does get back, and he's also obviously tricky as you like and everything you need from a winger. I don't know, obviously, any more about MUANI. I haven't even had a chance to look at the transfer news, views, and clues today. Boys, is MUANI, though, would you take MUANI as an attacking option, Dave? Is that the sort? I know we spoke about this yesterday, so we haven't got to dwell on it too much, but is there an ideal candidate, an ideal profile of a winger that you think can play the workhorse? I think if you agree that we need that, help the fullbacks and also take players on traditional, conventional style one-on-ones. How do you see that? If I agree with you about the forwards need to be better. What does that look like in your dream and realistic world?
It's just about having different options. Like, look, Brennan Johnson is having a good season in terms of goals, but his all-round game is lacking completely. And I just think, it's all about supplying your striker. You obviously bring him in here as your main source of goals. He's the guy you're hoping that will get these goals for you, winners, everything else like that. And it's about having different options out wide for different scenarios. I think we need a winger that can just separate himself, get 5 yards, and put good balls into the box. An old-fashioned winger, if you like, someone that knows how to cross a ball. I think many wingers you buy now would accept that they have to work backwards. I'm not worried about the workhorse sort of style. I think many wingers accept that. But for me, it's just about having different options. If you're bringing in KOLO MUANI to play out wide, is he really going to feed Dom Solanke the way that he needs to be fed balls into the box? I'm not quite so sure. MUANI's good at beating players, but for me, he's always been a striker. I don't understand why everyone's talking about him as a left winger now all of a sudden. He's always played through the middle, especially at Frankfurt. And look, do I think he's the right guy for Tottenham? No, but I'm not closed on it. I'm open for him to prove me wrong. But on the same breath, is he probably one of the best players on the market this January in the forward positions? Probably. Therefore, I think, like you and Johnny have been saying, I'd probably prefer it with a loan with an option to buy rather than a loan with an obligation to buy or jumping knee deep and putting money in on him straight away either. I don't want to do that. I think, January market, because he has been out of the team at PSG. And by the way, it's not because he's a bad player. You go and look at the players he has to try and compete with at PSG. It's a phenomenal list of players there.
Yeah. What's his name? Keeping him out, Dave. What's his name?
Desiree Doué.
Is it Doué?
Desiree Doué. They got Bradley Barcola. They've got
Barcola. Sorry, it's Barcola.
What's his name? I can't remember. Kang In Lee. They've got Gonzalo Ramos. They've a massive list of talent there to compete with. But can he come in and help the situation right now? Of course he can. So, look, let's wait and see what happens on this one.
We've been burnt so many times.
Especially from Liga.
Kudu and Dombele. Well, I'm sure others can think about it, the others that have come.
First time Pape Sarr from France?
No, I know. Listen, Pape Sarr was slightly different for me. There was something about him. He
was one of our first pivots towards the youth future.
100%. But that was done by the Don himself. Okay, and I remember watching him, trying to watch some games of him in France, and he wasn't even getting much of a game, and then him coming on as a sub for Senegal versus England and really showing what he can do. And guess what? Shooting from outside the box. Now, Ange, I know
he takes that too far though. He shoots.
No. But I'm telling you, right? I've seen him score for Senegal. I've seen him cause havoc for Senegal. When you're outside the box on a low block, what Dave was talking about before, take a shot. Take a shot. If you get a ricochet or it comes off the keeper, and then the other attackers can run down. When you got
what happened with Pedro Porro, right? Pedro Porro took that pot shot, and Dom Solanke was the first to react. I think that was against Man United. I think that gave us the lead against United in the quarterfinals, wasn't it?
Well, yeah, and look at the game against Newcastle where Pape Matar Sarr had the shot. Dubrovnik saved it, and unfortunately, Johnson missed the chance and hit the post. Yeah. So listen. All I'm saying is, has he lost his hunger? Don't forget, he signed for Eintracht Frankfurt on a free transfer. Wasn't getting big money, right? He was just happy to get the club. And then you sign for 80 million euros. You go to Paris. You got the money that you've never had before. You got the women. You got the car. You got everything.
First you get the contract. Then you get the money. Then you get the power.
Yes,
then you get the move to Tottenham. And 4 years later, then you get the trophy.
Then you get the trophy. The vavavoom. And, and this is why we're trying to sign him, because we want him to be the front of the baguettes. We want him to be holding the baguette when he comes into that station, into the ground, signing the contract in one hand and a baguette in the other. No, I just think that he is the man. He is the man that we can only sign. I'm only interested in him, like Dave said, and like we spoke about yesterday.
On a loan.
Option, 100% all in. 18-month option I'd like to get. Same way we get Kulu. So he's not thinks he can just do it for 1 year and then go to sleep again, like we've seen so many times. Okay, 18-month option and then a purchase. But if it's an obligation, thanks very much. We'll do as we can, and we'll find the next one, because there'll be another Muani, right? There'll be another someone just as good.
Well, let's be honest, right? If what Blaine is saying here, where's my comment?
Kvaratskhelia.
Yeah, well, if he's going, like, if the idea is
Napoli,
like, yeah, but if the idea is that Muani's coming to us and they're going to replace him with Karic, then like, why don't we just go and speak to Napoli? Make them an offer and they refuse.
We ain't paying that money to get him.
No chance.
I mean, listen. I mean, look. That's why I mentioned before. If Barcelona can find,
you need to speak to your boy Levy, Sean.
Hang on, are we back in shopping?
You need to speak to your boy Levy and convince him to open the checkbook.
I said it half an hour ago, Dave. I'm not sure if you heard. I said, look, Barcelona have found another ridiculous wiggle room way around the rules to be able to get away with what they do. Like Daniel Levy, you're brilliant at doing it by the book. Let's see if you've got a little bit of dark arts, mate, because there's ways that you can use your relationships with Tavistock and with ENIC and the properties and the golf courses. Sell them to each other. Let's front load that revenue, and then let's do it. Like Chelsea.
Let's get some money in. Let's get some money in for some flats that are going to be built on the other side of the road in 2066.
Yeah. I've got 10 grand in my ISA. I tell you what, Daniel, I'll give you 10 grand if I get that flat in 2030. I'm fine for it. Okay, that's fine. But then you can take that 10 grand and presume that it becomes a 500,000 £500,000 sale, and then everyone's good, right? You can go and pay Marcus Rashford's salary for a week. I don't care what you do. Just like, let's get clever. Let's recognize that the rules are stupid, and Daniel Levy's brilliant at working within the rules. Let's see if he's brilliant at working slightly outside the rules. Is all I'm saying. I think that there's it's okay with me if Daniel Levy starts to get a little bit loose. It's what I'm saying. Like, loosen up, undo the tie. Let's see what, let's turn the hat back to front. Party that. You got business Daniel and you got party Daniel. Let's see what party Daniel looks like a little bit.
Look, what we do as fans, all us fans, we've got our nose pressed up against the window on the outside, looking in at Harrods. Unfortunately for us, Daniel is in the middle aisle at Lidl, right? Looking to pick up a bargain that could eventually be sold at Harrods. That's where we're at often. Now, I don't mind that as long as it's supplemented with some Selfridges and some John Lewis, and a bit of Waitrose or whatever. Listen, I have never believed. I know you did, Dave, or Summer did, maybe not you, but I always believed that what we've done here, we've spoken many times, the investment and the time that's been spent over the last 2.5 years investing in 15 to 19-year-olds is going to pay off. We all want the jam today, not tomorrow, but I am so excited about this project. I can't tell you, because this keeper is yet another one there. I know we want it all tomorrow, and I'm a lot older, therefore I'm even more want it today than tomorrow. But I just think that if we show some patience, whether it be Ange or whether it be the guy after Ange, I think the club is going to be really, really good on a football front in the next 2 to 3 years. I'm not sure exactly when it's going to happen, but I do believe it's going to happen because there's just too many good players that we have got. And if we manage it properly, whether it's the Dorringtons, the Phillips, the Moores, the Donnellys, the Bergvalls, the Greys, the Yangs, the Kinskis, or whoever, or the Lancashires, we have got
Johnny?
Talent. We really do.
Do you know what, Johnny? Dermot, I'm going to come to you. I'm going to give Dave a chance to respond to you in a second. But I'm going to come to that in a second. Just quickly, though, on that notion that you just said there about, we've got all these youth talent. I completely agree. Let's also, for the interest of balance, even though the angesexuals and stuff out there that want to, just stick with them all the time, and I'm on board it. But we also have to shake hands with the fact that Jed Spence has emerged as a consequence of a situation that wasn't planned. Injuries, right? We wouldn't be seeing Jedley King if it wasn't for what's happened. We wouldn't have seen Archie Gray as much as we have. We wouldn't have seen Lucas Bergvall anywhere near as much as we had if we had these players, if we didn't have the injuries we have. But what I think the takeaway that you hope that Ange has picked up from this, and even to other managers of other teams, because I always want to see young players. I don't care if they play for Everton, United. I don't care if they play for whoever, right? If there's young players out there with talent, I want to see them have their chance to shine, not because of injuries being the only rationale for it, and not because, even you look at teams like Klopp's Liverpool, where he had the luxury of being 3-4-0 up in games where he would bleed in Connor Bradley's and these types, right? But just because let's give them a go, because some of them won't make it. Some of them will you sink or swim. Some of them will sink. Others will swim. And look, we haven't given Alfie Dorrington any minutes this season, right? What's to say? If Ange has that much love now and he's saying things like, I want to be here in 3 years' time, I want to be the recipient of the mature version of X, Y, and Z, surely he should also look at people like Dorrington and go, maybe that guy could also emerge. Maybe Ash Phillips, maybe Yang. Maybe I want to see us learn. This season has proven, and last season with Pape Sarr, that if you're good enough, you're old enough. And I don't know why we can't try this more often. And other managers of other teams as well. I don't want to see these kids only get their chance if there's injury space to their teams that allow that to happen.
How do you think? Sorry, Dave, just very, very quickly. So, because I'd like you to come in on this one because it's something I feel strongly about. So, how do you think Dorrington feels that as a 19-year-old, you're not deemed ready as a lauded 19-year-old, not just an ordinary guy who's just come through, a lauded 19-year-old that the club rates very highly, is deemed not good enough, too young to be playing centre-back, yet an 18-year-old, number 6, has been given that task to play that very same position. For me, that's demoralising, and people can say what they want. I would be very interested to see when we play Tamworth on Saturday. I would like to see Dorrington play with someone else at the back. I'd like to see Moore. I'd like to see Yang. I'd like to see a lot of those kids given the time. I really would. Just to give them some encouragement that there is
you're not wasting your time here.
a glimmer of hope. Sorry, Dave, go on. Look,
just on that. Look, I agree with you. I would have trusted Darlington a long time ago. When you look at ball playing, defender, etc., he fits exactly what we're looking to do. But what people don't take into account is last season, Ashley Phillips was sent out on loan over Darlington. They kept Darlington around. Then, of course, he got his hamstring injury. Then he done it again, and then he had to go for surgery. And it took him a while to get back up to full speed this season off the back of that surgery. So that's probably why, he's only been back in and around the squad recently.
Yeah. I was with him when he at the Fulham game.
Yeah,
with Damie Donnelly's, So
he done the Liverpool game as well as where he done it, didn't he, last year?
Yeah.
So that's probably a bit of context around the Darlington situation. And to be fair, look, Postecoglou probably went with Archie Gray, but with how he's been performing, you can't drop him. You can't take him out of the team. You know what I mean? But this,
I get that. I get that as well.
Around Ange Postecoglou, though. Look, Postecoglou, if anyone's gone back and done, research or words on what he said around the youngsters, he's always said, I prefer to bring them into a stable environment to give them the best opportunity to thrive, which is, look, theoretically, that's the right sort of thing to do. You should always have a couple of youngsters around the periphery of the squad pushing. However, he's had to turn to them now in this time of crisis. And look, if you're a youngster, I don't think you really care where your minutes come from, whether the manager believes in you or whether it's a crisis. At the end of the day, it's the same opportunity. You've got to take it. And to be fair, they've done it. Look, this whole thing around Ange, he doesn't play youth. Destiny Udogie walked into the club at 21. He's played him. Pape Matar Sarr, he played him where Conte wouldn't. Darlington has got minutes this year. Mikey Moore has had a lot of minutes so far this season. Will Lancashire has had minutes this season. There's 5 players already off that. BERGVALL, Ray, they're 6 and 7. So, this narrative for that Postecoglou isn't using youngsters. He is. He's just not using the ones that everyone wants him to use. But he is using a lot of youngsters. And I think as the season progresses, like Tamworks, you could probably see maybe a Tyrese Hall even come in and be given an opportunity, someone like that. You just don't know. But I think, as this project goes on, I do think you will see more and more of them sort of being integrated. Now, hopefully, Ange has maybe learned from this and said, look, do you know what? Why was I so afraid to turn around to them beforehand when senior players were giving me what I need? Yeah.
That's what
he's learned from it, Sean.
Exactly. But not just him. I hope that a lot of managers out there, as I said at the start, so I won't repeat myself, but as I said, I think that there is a consistent thing where managers are like, well, and I get it, because obviously their job relies on performance, right? It's all about output. It's a results business. And so they sit there going, well, I'd rather have a 25-year-old that's been there and done it than an 18-year-old that hasn't proven it to me. But if you've got players that are talented, then where possible, I would love it if there was a lesson for everyone from the fact that you're looking at Tottenham. Okay, the results aren't great right now, but the effort and the galvanized output that I think has been manifested in the last 180 minutes of football has primarily come from the young players in the team, and other players have been around it. And we are going to move into now. I'm going to get this super chat. We're going to get Dermatrons, and I'm going to get the Big D's membership super chats done, and then I want to focus on the actual game last night and talk about the individuals, because we've got 13, 14 players to look at. Some good, some bad, some absolutely sensational. Kinski is where we're going to start. But before we get there, Dermatron. Thank you very much for the super chat, my man. Last night was a great result. Best wishes to Benny. Hope for a speedy recovery. I did say, Dave, we will win last night. We can get to Wembley. Listen, yeah, Dermotron, if you called it, mate, you weren't the only one. I called it as well. I think Dave, did you predict the 2-1 as well in the chat yesterday?
Yeah, and I said to you beforehand, it's like us to win if you remember, I said to you, it's like us to win at Tottenham Hotspur and then the rug to be pulled underneath us at Anfield. Yeah. But look, we would have been lovely to have got a second, and I think we were well worthy of a second. But unfortunately, it wasn't to be. Look, it's a delicately poised tie, isn't it? Delicately poised tie. But if Jed Spence can keep Mo Salah in his pocket at Anfield, and that guy's worth 50 million quid just on 180 minutes. Thank you so much, Dermot.
I just cancelled my holiday, Dave. I cancelled it. I was going away, and I let's just say I'm none too popular. You
might have to whip out the bucket hat as well, Johnny. I know you have a few old bucket hats knocking around.
Yeah, unfortunately. I have to, give it up for the greater good of the club.
Yeah.
I couldn't miss it.
Are you going to go to Anfield, Johnny?
Yeah. Is the Pope Catholic?
Are you guaranteed tickets with your?
Yeah, I would hope so.
Yeah,
I would hope so.
I'd like to
believe it or not, I haven't got a ticket for Arsenal as it stands right now. Don't ask me how, but I haven't. So
well, I might drop into the pension fund, take some money out of that 10 grand that I spoke about for a deposit for Daniel Levy's flat. Maybe I'll take 500 quid out and pay for the Emirates like I did last 2 years ago. That was expensive and it wasn't worth it, but it was still you know, that was back when I was flush with cash. These days I'm broke like like nobody's business because of the shenanigans. Anyway, Big D, member for 12 months. Thank you so much for your support, mate, and ongoing loyalty to the channel. Our wingers are our weak point. Big upgrades needed. Listen, Big D, we're going to come to them as we move up the pitch, but we are going to start with our player reviews, and we're going to start right at the back with big Tony Kinski. Johnny, I'll start with you on this one, mate. Tony Kinski, for me yesterday, it was breath of fresh air, and the people around me in the South Stand, we were like, Tone! Big Tony!
Tony!
Get yourself in the midfield, Tone. Push up. You've got such good feet. He's ambidextrous, ambipedal, I think actually the phrase is. And he doesn't care whether he's picking it left, right. He's 2-footed. He doesn't care. The guy's confident. It was beautiful to see him.
Flick over Gapco. Was it over Gapco's head?
Yeah, who's not short, by the way. 6'3" Cody Gakpo.
He flipped it over his head. Listen, I said to my boys that this guy's so good with his feet. You know, you wait, you see. Oh yeah. We saw you outside the stadium, and you were saying his keeping stats are shit. And I said, no. What I said was he was good with his feet, but his Europa League stats with his hands weren't brilliant. But I've seen the clips, and his delivery with his feet is exceptional, right? So when the game started and he started delivering those kicks, what was amazing was the crowd to have, say, 50,000 of that 62,000-seater stadium suddenly have a completely different thought. When the ball went, like, oh my God, did you just, but people were turning around. Did you just see what he just did with the ball? Did you just see what he did with his feet? We've had Hugo Lloris, can't kick a ball. We've had Foster, can't kick a ball. And with the greatest respect, Vic, he's okay. He's not horrendous, but he fills me with some dread sometimes. That kid was unbelievable. And to be honest with you, I think that confidence and the way he played, the performance he gave last night, gave that back four confidence like they've never had, that they didn't need to worry what was behind them, just what was in front of them, and to concentrate on their man. And I think that was massively, massively uplifting. We grew into that game. And if anything, I think we got stronger. It lifted Dragusin, that's for sure, because he had the best game I've seen him, the ball probably opening 5 minutes since he's been here, maybe.
Dave, let me just quickly extend the conversation to you. I'll let you come in on Tony now, but just add this to your answer. Does his ability, backing up what Johnny said, I concur with everything Johnny said, does this ability for him to feel so confident with his ball at his feet, does that add a new dimension to Tottenham's game going forward?
100%. Look, you know, to add to Johnny's point, what you've seen last night is the centre-backs could go back to the goalkeeper, which relieved pressure, which meant we could actually retain the ball longer. In recent weeks, they didn't really trust Forrester, especially after that United game, so everything was being played forward, which meant there's a greater opportunity for the opposition to turn the ball over, and we were giving away the ball in stupid positions. The fact that you had him there and they could trust him means they could go back to him every time, and you just look at some of the floated passes over a fullback. I mean, I've seen players like Tottenham couldn't even be able to do the outfield. Yeah. You know what I mean? I'm pretty sure I've seen him do one with his left and his right. He's 2-footed, but that all comes down to what the article that Football London put out about that Czech expert from the Czech league. It's his belief in his ability, and that's the only reason why he can do that, you know. And to see a goalkeeper 2-footed, most players in our team aren't 2-footed, is absolutely insane. And not only that, look, don't get me wrong. I think the first time he was tested with Gakpo was a bit, where's that ball gone?
Yeah, he just went through his legs.
Yeah, no, but, you know, I nearly had
to... Don't worry.
I got it. No problem. Nothing to see here. Move along.
But he did make 2 brilliant saves in the second half, though. He was absolutely brilliant in the second half with some of his saves. And look, all I can say is what a goalkeeper. And I just think what we seen last night is that we were able to get more of a foothold in the game because we were able to play the ball back to him and relieve the pressure from the opposition's press and stuff like that. And even if they went to press him, he said, no problem, leave me 10 yards, pop, straight over you, we're out. And not only that, he mixed it up, which I like. He didn't just go straight back to the centre back. He popped it into midfield, popped it out to the fullbacks, pinged one over for Son over the top.
How good was that ball, Dave? How good was that ball over?
Honestly, I nearly had to go into a dark room, whip out some lube and give myself 5 minutes. It was absolutely unbelievable. Unbelievable from him. And you know what? I've seen more than enough from him last night to say we've got that one spot on.
100%. Yeah, and tell me something. Did you see Vicario's face when he went to hug at the end? He was like, okay, yeah, I'll hug you, but you bastard.
Yeah, I'm scared.
He should be worried. He should be.
That's what we want, as Spurs. That's what we want. We just need a left back now.
With Vicario, all right, I think he's a very good goalkeeper. I actually think he's one of the best shot stoppers in world football, and he's decent with his feet. However, when you've seen him from his debut to the time he went out injured, did anyone really see any massive improvements in his game? Before he went out, he started to try and come and claim a few crosses, but it's not a massive improvement where you feel, oh yeah, it's safe, he can come out and collect them and stuff. Whereas with Kinski last night, I genuinely felt safe in goals, you know what I mean? And, you know, I think when you look at him, I think there's obviously scope for him to improve, you know, further.
He's
but
21 years old, mate.
Improvement. So hopefully with the signing of Kinski now, it puts a rocket up for Vicario's hold to improve and become a better all-round goalkeeper too.
I love that, mate. I love that both from both of you guys. 21 years old. Most goalkeepers are still playing youth team football at 21,
right.
And this guy's come in with incredible experience playing for the best team in Czech Republic. Families obviously support him. Lovely. I said it was. I thought it was his mum. Apologies.
No, his mum was there. He did hug his sister, but his mum was there.
I was going to say I thought that was his girlfriend, and people were telling me it's his mother. I was like, geez, she's young looking.
Yeah,
no, I'm not sure. The picture I put on the thumbnail, I don't know.
Well, the interesting thing is, he's a dynasty. He comes from a dynasty. You know, his dad was a Czech goalkeeper. His grandpa was a goalkeeper. You know, he's the third generation of
Michael, right? Peter Schmeichel and Kasper Schmeichel, you know? So,
yeah, no, but he's the third generation. His grandpa was one as well. So, yeah.
Was he?
Yeah.
Let's
was a keeper.
Let's park the plaudits on Tony there, but shout out to you, Tone. What an unbelievable debut. One of the best debuts I've seen for a hell of a long time, not just at Tottenham, but anywhere. Let's move on to the left-back spot. And, Johnny, I'll give you the chance here to give yourself a pat on the back, my man. I said it at the start. Not many people had... there was a lot of people that still said, oh, free Jed Spence and stuff, but Johnny, you were bang on about him, as was Daniel Levy, for what it's worth. And, you know, the plaudits to both of you for the faith in him. And plaudits to him and his agent and his family that have kept him grounded and patient in a long time. 2.5 years to wait for your full debut for Tottenham after signing is incredibly unusual. But yeah, Johnny, take it away, mate. I mean,
listen,
no Salah. No Salah. No Salah is what we're going to call him from now on.
Got to pick a topic or two, boy. Yes. I think, look, the guys been through some tough times. You know, you only hear what you hear, but you know, we all have trouble in our lives. We've all had moments in our lives, but they're not micro-analysed like they are when you're a footballer or a celebrity or whatever you are as a sportsman. And he was young, but you know, he went out to Italy to get his life back on track. Again, fun enough, he went out there to play right back. The left back got injured, and he ended up having to play left back, which is not where he wants to be. He wants to be out on the right, but he earned the right. You know, he had an opportunity, if he wanted to have accepted the deal with Genoa. He had the last say on it. Anyway, came back to Ange and said, "Look, I want to try out here." And Ange saw enough of him to say, look, you know, despite offers, and there were lots of offers, that, you know, he doesn't want him to go. But it was very disappointing, having said that and rejected these offers, that Ange then went and dumped him out the Europa League, which was a mistake. It really was a huge mistake. I said so at the time. But then he was led to believe, like I said before, that he was going to be playing in the cup competitions because of this rotation. And then you get the first game. I travelled up to Coventry. I spoke to my mate. I said, oh, my God, you don't believe this? Jed's not even starting. He says, what do you mean? He's not even starting at right back. They put Archie Gray at right back. The only reason he came on in that game, as I said earlier, was because Destiny got injured. Otherwise, we would be having a different conversation. We wouldn't be in the cup because we would have got knocked out. He scored in that 87th minute. And how was he rewarded? He was dropped again. So when people say weak character, weak mind, disruptive, troublemaker, those are the sort of things that happen in your career, then get you down and make you a troublemaker. But he didn't become a troublemaker. He doubled down on his efforts and his training. And it was only because of the injuries and the situation they found himself in that Ange had no other option but to play Jed Spence. And the first chance he got, he was fantastic. And then unfortunately he got switched to the left back, which isn't his best position. And he did worry that if he played at left back and he screwed up or he made a mistake, that the crowd would get on him and say, you know what, there you go, look, we always knew he was no good. But honestly, he's got stronger and stronger. And let me tell you something, you're not even seeing the best of Jed Spence right now because he didn't get forward much. His game last night was so disciplined because his natural instinct as a right back is to maraud forward with the ball. You did see it often, a few times, but not as much as you would see him up on that right back. But some of his gameplay and the way he shielded the ball from Salah, you know, he didn't rush in. Salah's very clever at drawing the foul, winning free kicks. He didn't commit one free kick, one foul against Liverpool, not one, which is amazing when you consider the back line. He made one mistake, but Archie Gray was there to cover his backside. I think it's a fantastic performance, and I really do feel that for me, and I've said this to you, and I've said it on other streams, I would absolutely love to see Jed Spence play at right back and Pedro Porro to be playing on the right wing. I keep saying it because I honestly believe that Pedro Porro, he's like Perisic. He does not need to beat his man to whip that ball in. He can whip the ball in from a standing position. And if you're whipping balls in and he's playing in that final third constantly without having to track back, he can still track back, but look how better defensively we'd be on that right-hand side. And look how more effective we'd be. With those two overlapping runs from Spence and Porro, they would have a lot to think about defences. That's my dream, but I don't know whether I'll ever see it. But over to you guys.
Davey boy, we'll start with Jed Spence, mate, and then we can we'll pivot into Pedro Porro in the second half of your answer.
Look, I've always been a big defender of Jed Spence because even if you put yourself in Jed Spence's shoes, I know there was maybe a bit of issues about him, you know, staying up late, loud music coming from his house, you know, and stuff like that. I understand all that, but put yourself in his shoes. A young guy gets his dream move to the Premier League and it's wiped underneath, took him from underneath him before he's even gone into a training session because of Conte's words. As a young lad, you are going to lose your head. And it doesn't matter what you do in training, you're never going to get in, you're never going to get a look in. So at some point, you are going to lose your head. But he's regained that focus. He's come back with a point to prove. And yes, he's had to sit there and wait for his opportunity. But one thing no one talks about with Jed Spence is he's had groin issues for large parts of this season. That's probably why we haven't seen him as well from time to time. He's had groin injuries and stuff like that. But the guy has took his opportunity, even if Postecoglou wasn't fancying for a little bit. As soon as he got his opportunity, he took it. Coventry, Southampton again, he had to wait a little while. Got the opportunity, 30 seconds in. Most other players would have went back. He spun his man, played Maddison in. You know, in years gone by, I've always, you know, people were telling me, Dave, you've got to give them 5-10 games to get up to speed. Okay, but Jed Spence doesn't need 5-10 games. The sign of a good player is a guy that's ready to come in, take his opportunity and make an impact. And he done that. Postecoglou alluded to it. He made an impact. He didn't just come in and add to what we're doing. He made a massive impact. But with Jed Spence last night, look, I was on your show yesterday. I says, as funny as it sounds, he kept Mo Salah the quietest I've ever seen him in that 6-3. And he's got to play up against Mo Salah at left back because he will keep him quiet. And he absolutely pocketed him last night. He got to the point, he was dancing on the ball while holding Mo Salah by his hair at one point. It was absolutely unbelievable to watch. And you know what? This kid deserves immense respect and immense credit for how he's turned his career around. And
100%.
he has to be put into that Europa League squad now. He has to. We really need him. A fair play to him. He's absolutely brilliant. And what I love about him is, you know, in years gone by, we've seen right foot players go to the left-hand side. People, oh, what do you want them to do? It's not their natural position. This guy is playing on the left-hand side with his right foot, refuses to balloon it long. He plays out from the back. And he's an absolute certified baller, Jed Spence. To be honest, if I'm Thomas Tuchel, I'm calling him into the England squad.
100%. Exactly. I said the same myself. I couldn't say it though, because it seemed flat.
Jedi Spence.
I think, you know, not much more I can add, guys. There's nothing about Jed Spence that worries me. We spoke about how calm and cool we feel as a fan base last night, Johnny, with Kinski at the back. It just felt, you didn't feel worried like you do at times with Fraser or maybe even Brandon Austin, because we didn't know what we were dealing with, even though I thought Brandon did a really good job. And it's a shame for him that this kid's come in and obviously smashed it in his debut. And I think Brandon's now back down the pecking order. So Brandon's going to have to make a decision about his own career, what's good for him. But either way, look, I mean, Jed Spence, just sensational. And I said it on the phone to you both last night on the way home. I had a 2-hour drive home at 1 o'clock in the morning. I spoke to both of you. To keep me company, and I appreciate you staying up late to have a chat. Jed Spence that last night playing at left back, out of position, on his right foot. He had three Liverpool in the first 20 minutes. Liverpool put that sort of triple press in that because they've got that weird midfield dynamic fluidity thing with what they do with the wing forwards, Jota, Salah. You know, the 8 can come forward. They interchange. It's a very hard sort of formation to sort of put like a bracket around, if you like, because it's so fluid. But what they do is that when they want to, they can just swarm on a player, especially against the touchline. And for me, Jed Spence was the recipient of that press 3 times, I think, in the first half an hour. And at every occasion, Jed Spence didn't look like he gave a shit in terms of was scared or pressured. He was so comfortable. He's, like you said, Dave, he's holding one player off here. He's jinking the ball with his right foot. He's looking, and then you have Lucas Bergvall that comes deep. You have Benson Core before Benson Core's injury. We'll talk about that in a second. And they make room for him, and he just does a quick little flick of the outside of the boot, whatever. And we got out every time. And he just looks so comfortable and at ease, even though he's on the other side of the pitch of what is naturally going to be suitable for that side. And so I just think that, you know, by hook or by crook, like whether it's through injury, whether it's through Ange waking up and seeing what he has, whether it's through heart, it doesn't matter. Whatever it is, there has been the emergence in the last 60 days of Jed Spence, and it's a brilliant thing for Tottenham fans. It's a brilliant thing for the club, a brilliant thing for him. And it makes our life a little bit easier with regards how do you spread your budgets for the next 25 days, 20 days, whatever it is, and also in the summer. So
what about when
I've not seen anybody that's pocketed Salah like that. Sorry, Jenny, what was that?
I was just going to say, just quickly to add to that, you know, when Trent came on that right hand side, and you had Trent and Salah doubling up on him. That was the only. He wasn't. I did put them on the sun shining in my eyes. I did say, oh my God, you know, how's he going to cope now with Trent and Salah on that side? But, you know, the one time he lost them, Archie Gray covered him. So, you know. Yeah.
Sensational. Dave, look, I think Johnny's already spoken about Pedro Porro in the first answer. He didn't really go into the specifics of the performance. Johnny, I'll let you come back round to answer the.
No, it's fine. Dave now.
Yeah, I'll bring Dave in now. Just Pedro Porro for me. I mean, Johnny alluded to the idea. I'd like to see him, you know, further forward. A lot of you in the chat are saying the same thing. By the way, guys, 750 people here. Incredible. Please smash this. I mean, I'll put the subscriber thing only on. All you got to do is hit the subscribe and you can participate in the chat. I'm just being a little bit greedy like that. But make sure you get over to Johnny and to Dave as well. Links are in the description, and I'll put them back up in the comment section. Make sure you spread the love. Dave, Pedro Porro, for me, tireless. He's built like he seems to come across to me like the physical specimen of like a Cristiano Ronaldo. Geezer can just run and run and run, sprints up and down. I'm so surprised he hasn't had an injury yet. Touch wood, he doesn't. But the guy just, and I mean, the only criticism is that finish when he got when after Lucas Bergvall's harassment of Alisson, the finish, I thought at the time it looked closer than it probably was. I saw the replay and it was probably a little bit further away. But that's the only criticism, because I think this guy is just, he's a phenomenal worker, a phenomenal athlete, a phenomenal stamina on him. People talk about Decky having 3 lungs. Pedro Porro's got 4. Like, the guy is just incredible. I love him. Whether he's a better fit as a right winger, maybe arguably, and maybe Tottenham would be more balanced with, you know, Jed on the right and Pedro. I don't know, Dave. Like, I mean, how do you agree with me? Is Pedro Porro as remarkable of a physical specimen as I think he is?
Well, look, Sean, we go back to when we used to watch alongs together. We're famously Pedro Porro's prisoners, right? Remember when he answered Tim Sherwood?
Your prison, Pedro. Your prison.
so like we've always been a long-term fan of Pedro Porro. But you know what? I think it shows the caliber of the player that he can play right back, and many people think he can play right wing, which I fully agree with. You know, he's got the ability to beat players, create half a yard. He can shoot, score goals. He can cross balls and play passes through. He's got everything. And you know what? He had a massive game yesterday. He kept Cody Gakpo quiet, who absolutely ruined them in that 6-3. And not only that, then they brought on Luis Diaz and says, you have a go. And he absolutely, you know, stopped him as well. It was brilliant. And it was him that played that ball forward for the winner, for Dominic Solanke to run onto. It was him that played that ball for Dom Solanke's disallowed goal as well over the top. You know, it was a really good all-round performance from Porro. And I think what we're seeing is a player that's been rested a little, you know, and now he's coming back and you're seeing the very best of him. I've never, ever had a problem with Pedro Porro going forward. But I think a lot of people have probably had a lot of problem with him, you know, defensively. But if anyone remembers an interview he sort of done, you know, heading into the Ange Postecoglou's first season, he said, I've never really had to worry about the defensive side of the game. I've always been a right wing back, always told just go forward, especially at Sporting. But he's had to learn the defensive side of the game. And I think, you know, give him another year or two. I wouldn't be very quick to sell him to Real Madrid or anyone like that. I think the only reason why they're interested is because they can clearly see the talent. So for me, I think you've got to keep him around, and I think he will get better defensively. And you know what? One thing I seen from him last night, which there's no excuse for him going forward, he was bloody good in the air last night. Where has that been all his time here? So for me, I need to see that going forward as well.
Especially right at the end. Would you not think, though, that by putting Jed Spence in at the right back, that negates that 100% necessity to get back and track back recovery run for absolutely every run? I just think it does. And, you know, you've got 2 players that can overlap and run there. And I just think that we would be stronger, so much stronger on the right-hand side. Obviously, that can only be when Destiny comes back, because I think that what he would do and create would be far more dangerous than what Brennan Johnson is creating for us at the moment.
Agreed, but then that means you have to...
The only challenge... Oh, sorry, go on, Dave. Go on, mate.
No. Sorry, Sean, go on.
I was going to say the only doubts I have about Pedro Porro as a right winger is, one, I don't know if he's got the take on the acceleration, that kind of pace to drop his shoulder and go, which I think is necessary for the system. And the other consideration I have is he as good a finisher as Brennan Johnson has proven to be, albeit in specific tactical circumstances.
90 minutes, sure. 90 minutes.
Pedro Porro's got a wonderful pot shot from distance, a better pot shot.
90 minutes. 90-minute engine.
No, I hear you. I hear you on the benefits of Pedro Porro in that role. I'm just saying that there are drawbacks, and the drawback for me is he's not necessarily a finisher. You know, like we saw last night, he went to his head and he tried to be clever with it, and he put it wide. And that goal, that opportunity might come back to haunt us. I'm not criticizing the guy. I love him.
Perisic a finisher, but he was a great supplier of balls, wasn't he? It was unbelievable.
Perisic had a cadence with his step overs that made it impossible to read when he was going to drop his shoulder and go left or right. It was this. I said it 1,000 times. It was the inability that the cadence of his step overs was so rhythmic. It was almost like hypnotic that you just didn't know when the final step over was going to be before he suddenly went inwards or outwards, and then he could go, and that's why he got to the byline, or he could cut in. I don't think Pedro Porro has demonstrated that he has that same sort of skill set. So I don't hate the idea. I get it from a defensive point of view, that there's going to be a double up there and it makes us a little bit less vulnerable on the counter. And I get it from a position of you don't necessarily need to see Pedro Porro, you know, bust his lungs every 5 seconds.
Or attacking.
I get it from the crossing perspective. I get it from the crossing perspective. We don't have a good cross. Get all those things, but there's always drawbacks. And I think one of the drawbacks would be that he doesn't have the cadence of the step overs. He doesn't have the unpredictability of getting to the byline. We haven't seen it, at least.
It's an I don't think
he's not a finisher. I don't think he's a finisher either yet. But
just lastly on Porro, right at the end of the game, I absolutely loved him when he was snarling at Luis Diaz, right behind him. I absolutely loved that. The only thing I would have done there is probably try to rile him up a little bit to waste a little bit of time. But, you're talking about a guy that's up for the fight. He's got it in abundance.
Yeah. Guys, let's move on to the centre-backs. Incredible performances. Let's start with Radu Dragusin. I mean, for me, started with the ball, I thought it was a little bit sloppy, like we've seen of late in the first opening minutes. And then, obviously, he had that flick-on chance in the corner where Bentancur went down injured. I think it was Sonny, who took the shot, and then it went towards him, and he just sort of took it, just like it was a brilliant little kind of open foot and a wonderful save from Alisson. He also got back and made that last-ditch goal line clearance that kept Kinski's clean sheet. A pivotal moment in the game. And so outside of, I thought, what was a brilliant aerial display against a very tall, strong Liverpool side, I thought I've seen Radu Dragusin win a lot more aerial threat against bigger teams than I have against teams that don't have that. It's a weird one for me. It's a bit of a conundrum. But I thought it was Radu Dragusin's best performance in the Tottenham shirt last night. And I thought he was well worthy of the plaudits that went his way from those that were ready to spread the love, not just to the youngsters, even though he is a young guy. I thought Radu Dragusin was brilliant. I said sloppy on the ball at times in the first opening, maybe half, but in terms of being a defender, he was a brilliant defender last night. Thoughts, guys? I'll start with you on this one, Johnny.
Listen, I concur. Listen, he's not the finished article. He's got lots of improvement to do, but confidence breeds confidence, and I think that game gave him a lot of confidence. He's playing sometimes out of position in a strange system to him, with a goalkeeper behind him that, let's be honest, Fraser Foster doesn't give you confidence. So I think it was a really good performance. He definitely gathered confidence, and his performance increased and improved throughout the game. And as I said earlier, I think a lot of that was to do with Kinski in goal. It made them feel more relaxed, and the understanding now between, like, we're talking here, it's like really weird. Last week we were talking about Jed Spence playing with Archie Gray, and now we're talking about Radu playing with Archie Gray, and one's an 18-year-old number 6, and one's I'm amazed. I am amazed how this team is managing to not get humped every week. And I think it's character building. I really do. And
it really is.
Hopefully this is the start of Radu getting some acknowledgement, because, at the end of the day, slaughtering him was not going to do any good.
Dave, Radu, someone in the comments here saying that you were going after him in the first half. Is that right?
Yeah, in possession. I think you go back and look at the game, there's a number of 5-10-yard balls to Archie Gray that he's putting way over hit, under hit, and putting them under pressure. And I think, that sloppiness has to stop. There's a number of times the balloon tried to play long balls and they went straight back to the opposition goalkeeper. Like I said, Johnny in the stand in Rose said yesterday, not good enough in possession, but defensively.
Not that Johnny, though, because he's not in Rose Dead, right? Different Johnny, right?
Different Johnny. But, I take my hats off to him yesterday. He was absolutely phenomenal defensively. And one thing I said heading into the game on your channel yesterday, Sean, is in that 6-3, he left Archie Gray massively exposed. He didn't do that this game. He sort of kept it tight with him. And as a partnership, he done really, really well defensively. It's on the ball where I was losing my rag with him, because I was a bit worried. Just context behind it. I was a little bit worried in the first half, because I could see the breakaways we were getting, and I was just hesitant. Are we going to keep Liverpool as quiet in the second half? And if we could just play out from the back with a little bit more consistency, and then forward players can find the right passes going forward. Liverpool are here for the take, and I was just worried that maybe they were going to step up through the gears in the second half and come at us. But in possession, I think if people go back and look at it, completely sloppy. Defensively, absolutely brilliant last night. And the reading to get back for the Trent Alexander-Arnold shot and clear it off the line, like you alluded to, Sean, is absolutely unbelievable. Do I think he's good enough for Tottenham Hotspur? I'm going to get hit in the comments. I don't. No. However, he did improve defensively last night from what I've seen in recent weeks. So I'm going to give him time. But in possession, he is atrocious, and he needs to bulk that up. Because he will
you know
not
what,
break the partnership of Romero Van De Ven if he doesn't.
I can 100% agree with you on that. As I said before, I hand it over to you guys. I think that on the ball, he's leaves a lot to be desired. However, I would also throw that last night in the first half. I would throw that to a lot of players. I thought the midfield was awful at overpassing, over hitting the ball. There was no on both sides, by the way. Like Liverpool also looked scrappy. The first half was just a very forgettable first half of football.
Look, it wasn't just him I went after. It was Kulu, Solanke, Son. They were all winding me up, you know.
All awful, 100%. 100%. But the second half, we were much better, much improved. And like I say, from a defender against Liverpool, I'd much rather be hearing he defended like an absolute beaver than he was atrocious defensively, but on the ball, he can ping it into the channel. Against Liverpool, you're going to need your defenders to defend. And I thought he was brilliant last night. So I'll give him the credit where it's due for that one. And again, like people look at him and think he's a swashbuckling pirate or whatever, and he's a big fella, but he's only 21, right? So like,
he's timid though for a big fella. I don't think he realizes how big he is, Sean.
I don't disagree with that either. Yeah, I think that he needs to throw his weight around because we don't have that much strength. We don't have that much in the way of, and you come up against teams like Newcastle who have just got bodies that are, boxers in many different departments. You're going to look to if you're a small guy on the pitch, you're going to look to your big guys to kind of protect you a little bit. And I was seeing the only people that I was seeing in the first half and in the game against Newcastle, I'm looking at Lucas BERGVALL and going, why is he the guy that's the bravest on the pitch? Why is he the geezer that is carrying? We'll come to the midfield now. Let's move across to Archie Gray, Dave. I think Johnny's obviously maybe he's here. He's back now, but let's stay with you, Dave. Archie Gray, just to finish off the back four. I mean, I love this guy. I just think he's. I said in the post match thing, you forget that he's not a centre back because he can do the centre back. Okay, he's not perfect. Obviously, he's 18. He's going to make mistakes. He's playing out of position in an entirely different side of the pitch. But then occasionally, you get to see and be reminded that he's actually a midfielder. And when he in that second half, I think it was the second half, or maybe the end of the first, he dribbles the ball out. He takes it past Gravenberch, and then he releases. I thought it was it might have been Decky, but I thought it was Brennan Johnson with a sweet little flick with the outside of the boot, and he just puts it into that space. And I was like, wow, I can't wait for this guy to finally get his chance to be the kind of double pivot 6'8", whatever you want to call it, because he's just a sublime footballer at such a young age. It's brilliant. What's your thoughts on Archie, Dave?
I don't even know what his best position is anymore, Sean. That's how good he is. You put him anywhere and he's very useful and he does a job. Look, I've never seen an 18-year-old be put into an environment where he's had to play centre-back against the best teams in world football, and he's played it better than our other centre-back option. Johnny alluded to it, him covering for Jed Spence on the one time they played it in behind Jed Spence last night. You're talking about reading of a game. That's something you would expect of a 26, 27, 28-year-old. He's been absolutely brilliant. And look, in possession last night, he was brilliant. Go back and look at every game he's played at centre-back, especially with Jed Spence at left-back. He doesn't balloon the ball long. He looks to play it out with Jed Spence, even under pressure, and he's embodying what Ange Postecoglou is wanting of his players. Be brave, look to play out. And look, I think I said it yesterday. I think he's one of the bright things to come out of that period that we've gone through. That I think every fan can look at him and say, bar injury, and he keeps himself on the right track, which I think he will. We've got one phenomenal player on our hands. And I'm really excited for this kid at Tottenham and his future. He is absolutely unbelievable. And he gets stuck in early. He gets stuck in as well. No complaints about the kid. Absolutely brilliant. And look, the reason why I'm excited is because his family has a history of being in the game. So they're going to keep him grounded. I would hesitate. You're not going to see him at the likes of the darts and stuff like that in future. He's going to be fully focused on his football. And this is why he's in the team. And that's why he's performing the way he is. Absolutely phenomenal from Archie Gray since he stepped in. What a signing.
Johnny, take it away, my man.
I'm going to say he's generational. I don't care if people sound overhyping him. I really don't. There's something super special about him. Last November, people were talking about January and transfers, not this November, the one before. And I said I wanted Archie Gray. I remember watching him against Chelsea, where he'd been playing for Leeds as a right back the whole season as cover for an injury. And he played Chelsea in the Cup at Chelsea, and they asked him to play as a 6. He was unbelievable. He was absolutely unbelievable, and he won man of the match. And then I just knew that this kid was exceptional. Unfortunately, they wanted something over 50 million for him in the January transfer window. And I just thought they were never, ever going to sign him. But he is truly, truly exceptional. That jink out of the midfield that you spoke about, I've actually got that. I've actually got a clip of that, which I'll probably post later. But I'm hoping that he's happy, because you got Frank Gray and Eddie Gray, his relations, his uncle and his grandfather, whatever. But they've got another one up at Leeds that we want, Harry Gray, the striker.
Yeah, he's banging.
He's unbelievable. He's absolutely banging. And if Archie's happy here,
what's the relationship between those two? Are they brothers?
Brothers, yeah. And let me tell you something. Harry could be as good as Archie, but he plays as a striker. There lies a bit of a problem. But I'd love to see. I'd love to see. He's only 16. I think he's 16, maybe 17 now. But I definitely think Spurs will be looking to bring him to the club. And I think that deal very much depended on how Archie settled in and how it went. I know that the family probably weren't very happy about him playing at right back, left back, centre back. When he, if you look on all his socials, his number ends in 6. On his Instagram, on his Twitter, it all ends in 6. That's where he sees himself. But there's no point me going on about what we all.
Do you know what? I have no problem with him playing in these different positions, because it's something that Ajax do in their academy growing up. Yeah. They play you in different positions so that when you are in your position, you know where other players should be and what they're looking for in terms of in possession and stuff like that. And I think, we're sort of doing it with Archie Gray, but at a Premier League level. And I think it will all benefit him eventually going 100%. Into that number 6 role, especially playing at centre half, because then he knows what they're looking for, what protection they're looking for. Playing at right back, left back, then he knows what sort of balls they want to play them and stuff like that. I think in the long run, it's going to benefit him. And to Alpesh's point here, I think you're looking at a future captain of Tottenham Hotspur.
Yeah, look, I don't disagree.
Going to England. He's going to be in England.
The second that we signed him, and I did my Y Scout analysis, I went deep on that one. And people that watch the channel know that before he kicked the minute for Tottenham, I was saying this kid is going to be mustard. I knew it. Sometimes you have just a gut instinct. Sometimes it takes you a while to get around your head around things. I got my head around Jonathan David. It took me 3 years, and now I understand the value. But like with Archie Gray, you just know. And I think I'm so excited. And like I say, Dave, I completely agree with your point. The value of him having experience in these different positions to be able to then understand what those positions are when you're then playing somewhere else and how that can benefit. We've got an absolute, if he can stay, I've got no issues with him keeping his feet on the ground, like you say, Johnny, with his family around him and stuff. But also if he can stay free of injury, and hopefully he will, then I think we have just a top class player on our hands there. And let's move forward now to the position that I was going to move into Lucas Bergvall, but we've been going for 1 hour 45. So let's try. I don't want to take
speed it up.
Yeah, speed it up. We'll get.
Otherwise, we'll be here till tomorrow.
We'll be here till tomorrow. We'll be here till the second leg. But let's look at first of all Yves Bissouma, the guy who was playing. I guess even though we don't really have a 6, the more defensive of the two. I give him a hard time, boys. I don't think he's the player that we hoped he was going to be. I think everyone. The only time I've seen the club universally by the fan base support a signing, everybody from the most positive to the most negative, and everyone in between was okay with the idea of signing Bissouma. I don't think he's really been the guy that we hoped he would be, in my opinion. I don't know if you agree or disagree, but I thought last night, a fair play to him. I'll call it as I see it, and I think fair's fair. Again, I think there was some sloppy passes in the opening half, but as that game went on, he just had the ability to sit and pocket and protect, and I just thought it was the best performance I've seen from Yves Bissouma in like 50 matches. I don't remember a better performance from Yves Bissouma. I think he was so important in containing that dynamic fluidity of that midfield that Liverpool have, which is such a difficult one to read, and just having that guy just sitting there in front of those back four and just protecting and anticipating and snuffing out the risk, and then being strong on the ball, finding the pass. I thought it was just It's rare for me to sit here and say it, but apart from a few missed passes in the first opening half an hour, I thought he was delicious. I thought he was delicious, and I think it's fair. You got to call it as you see it, and he was absolutely sensational. Johnny, I'll let you go on this one, mate.
Yeah, listen, I thought he had a very good game. He didn't lose his head. He maintained concentration, which is one of the biggest gripes I have with him. He seems to get distracted by a bird flying by or something. You know, it really can be very aggravating. But he kept his discipline. He understood the importance of the situation. The fact that he was playing with kids and he was the senior, really, what was he now, 28 years of age, probably now. And he stepped up. He did everything that was asked of him. You couldn't ask any more. And I thought he had a fantastic game.
Davey boy?
Yeah, look, for me, I think, look, we had a debate yesterday, BERGVALL or Bissouma. And I think you take yourself back to that debate. A lot of you were saying BERGVALL because of, the way he plays on the ball and stuff. And I was saying Bissouma because he gets around and mucks in and, you need that in the midfield. And ultimately, both of us, we were all right sort of in what we were saying yesterday. And we've seen that with the selection of the both of them in that midfield. But, my dad's always said to me, a lot of Tottenham's problems with that back line, and the way they're so open at times is actually because of the midfield. And I think when I look at that game last night, I think he's absolutely spot on. You look at Bissouma and the protection he gave them, even near the end. You go back to some of the crosses Liverpool were putting in. I think Bissouma cleared 4 or 5 of them. He was absolutely unbelievable yesterday. He gave that back line protection.
He smashed some of those. He absolutely wallowed some of them into almost out of the stadium at times.
Yeah, and even getting in with his head now, he was an absolute sensational defensive performance from him, just getting around, disrupting people. And look, I agree with you. Is pursuing a long-term answer? I don't think so. I think, look, he came here with a lot of hype. I think 99% of fans were behind the signing. But, seeing him at Tottenham, we need guys that are at it every single game, every single week. And, to your points, he's just not. And I do think, regardless of some of the performances he's put in this season, like Liverpool, like Man City, they're too far in between. He's got to really sort of muck in for the next 6 months, or he does find himself on the chopping block in the summer, despite his performance last night.
Yeah, love that. Look, I could talk about Bissouma's performance last night for hours, but we're gonna move up the not up the pitch, maybe a little bit up the pitch. Lucas BERGVALL started in the 10, and then after the injury and the kind of emergence of Bentancur. In fact, let's start with Bentancur. Just whilst we're on it, he started in the 8. Again, I don't really know. I can't really judge how he played before. What happened? I'll include the 2 of them in one segment, guys. And so please speak about both. Before we get to it, guys, please smash the like button. There's 750 people here. There has been the entire show. Amazing support. I don't know what the numbers are on the likes button, but I'm sure they can be higher than they are. Please get that because it really helps the channel find new people. And if you appreciate the time these guys putting in, and also get over to the Irish Hotspur and also to Johnny's X handle and also to his Instagram. I'll put the links in the description. And again, please make sure you take the time just to click the link and then click their subscribe or follow buttons. It's a demonstration of your gratitude, I guess, for the content. So Bentancur, obviously horrendous injury. We hope, touch wood, everything is going to be okay in that regard. Before then, I don't really know. I can't really judge. I thought that in the first 15 minutes, everything was sloppy, scrappy, and so I'm guessing he probably was also part of that. But I'm not going to, dwell on that too much. Lucas BERGVALL, though, for me, started in the 10. I'll be honest, I didn't particularly see that much. I haven't seen that much of it when he's been in the 10. What I have seen is him marauding forward with the ball in previous games against Newcastle for the first goal when Solanke scored. And I've also seen him getting onto the end of Dominic Solanke's hard work at the front end, which to me screams like a Steven Gerrard kind of late bloomer, late arrival into the box that is better fitted as an 8. And so obviously it's early days with BERGVALL, but I've got absolute love for the guy. I think he's incredible. I think we have I'm not going to say generational talent, but I think that he's up there. I love the fact that he gets on the ball. I love the fact he wants the ball, his peripheral, all these things. I'll let you guys wax lyrical about him. But for me, I think that he's an 8, not a 10 personally yet. Maybe that will change, but he's certainly versatile and dynamic. Brilliant performance from him, got the winner. And what an absolutely sensational day for that kid. Dave, I'll start with you on this one, mate.
Yeah, look, I thought it was absolutely brilliant. In possession, like you said, always wants the ball. And do you know what I love about him? He's one of the, I've been screaming out for Bissouma to do this and other players. He gets the ball and he's not afraid to switch it, play them longer passes out wide and get the team going. I think he's very good in possession. Out of possession last night is where he surprised me a lot. I think what he realised is Dom Solanke was absolutely done for in terms of pressing and stuff like that. And what you actually seen him do is actually take up a lot of the front line's workload by going and pressing the centre backs, going and pressing the goalkeeper. And he nearly got his reward for it with that ball back to Pedro Porro. He had two options at it. But then on that last one, you know, he fully deserved that goal, fully deserved that winner, fully deserved that moment in a Tottenham jersey. And fair play to him. Look, it's one in pre-season I looked at and I said, you know what? I get in pre-season that there's no physical contact, but that guy in possession is unbelievable. But he's going to struggle for a little while because when physical contact comes into it, he's going to have to find a new way to separate himself and create that half a yard to get his passes away and stuff. And I think what you're seeing in that Roma game, it was literally a boy in a man's world. But what you're seeing is a guy that up here has adapted and found a way, which shows intelligence, football IQ. And look, he's obviously got the ability.
100%. Johnny?
I don't know where to start really with him. You know, I like I said to you, I was excited when we signed him and we beat Barcelona to him. There's a reason why. And, you know, like Paul's saying there, in Sweden, he's talked about as a generational talent.
Out there with Ibra, right? People, I know a couple of Swedish people, they're saying Ibra was here, but when Ibra was 17, 18, they were thinking this, same sort of story.
And we've seen what KOLO is at his age, right? And, you know, what he's become. He has everything, right? He's great in the air. His peripheral vision, as I keep repeating over and over again, his ability to scan the area, receive the ball, and already be moving and thinking about where he's going to receive the ball, looking and scanning and passing the ball wide, switching the play, the triangles, the interception to stop the goal in the first half where he came in from the right-hand side, which looked like it was going to be a goal, and he slid across. The pressing of Alisson, like you said, when Dom Solanke started to tire, he took up the mantle, pressing the centre-backs. And that's how Porro got his chance, twice pressing him. He deserved that goal. And let's be honest, you'd have been like, if Solanke or Maddison or Son had taken that, you would have said, wow, what a great finish. Right? Class finish. And it wasn't a finish.
He started it outside the post, Johnny. Started it outside the post and he curled in.
It was fantastic. And the fact of the matter was, that would have been incredible. That would have been a great goal at the start of the game. But to have that finish towards the end of the game when you're tiring and you've worked your absolute nuts off, he got headers in. He got blocks in. He read the game. He was directing. He was pointing at other midfielders. As an 18-year-old, I'm telling you, 6'2". We got him at 6'2". We got Jed Spence at 6'2", right?
Still time on their side to grow. You're still growing to your 21. You're going to be 6'4". Yeah.
Physical. I mean, I've got to be honest with you. I agree with Dave. You know, there was a couple of games early on where he was given his moment where, you know, I got it from a few people that said, oh, yeah, you're going on about BERGVALL. You know, he can't hack it. He's pushed off the ball too easy. And 100% because he's not really the type of kid who's come from Swedish football and suddenly he's playing in this high-intensity game. You've got to realise he has to work out that he's not going to have the time on the ball. And he's moving the ball quicker now. He'd learned his lessons very, very quickly, and he's moving the ball. But for me, the one thing I love about him, there's so many things to love about him, tempo. He drives the tempo. He picks up the ball. He's not messing around. That goal against Newcastle, picked up the ball, drove it down that sea, ran 30, 40 yards with that ball before releasing it, and then Porro got the ball across. That's what we need so much. You know, I'm not going to start coming on here and slag Maddison, but Maddison, if you're sat there and you're watching, mate, and you're wondering, you're going to have to step up because this kid, you might not think he's a 10. He's definitely an 8. He's definitely an 8 that can track back and be in that box and influence games. And I think he's got plenty in his arsenal. Sorry, I didn't want to say that word. Plenty in his tank to develop. We've only seen the beginnings of this kid. I'm telling you, he is going to be a special player.
I'm not Johnny. I'm not saying he's not the 10. I'm just saying what I've seen thus far. The
You
sample
could be
that we
right.
have,
Who knows?
I prefer him. I prefer him as a box to box.
Now he's an 8. At the moment,
yeah, right now he's an 8, right? And I think that Pape Sarr is going to have a hard time getting him back in the squad when he's back from suspension. Look, I love Pape Sarr. Love Daddy Sarr, Daddy Longlegs. Right, absolutely delicious player. I look at the difference in the two though. One of them can cover blades of grass and is brilliant at interceptions, anticipation, reading the game in terms of cutting things out. But I think that Pape Sarr has got a problem sometimes with his end pass can be erratic and can give the ball away a little bit sloppily. He needs to grow in that department. There's nothing wrong with calling out people that are 22 years old and saying you're not perfect yet. You should be able to improve on these. And these are the areas that I think he should. I also like the fact that he's willing to take a pot shot, but I think he takes them a little bit too often, and sometimes they're not always the best decision. But
how great is it? How great is it though, Sean? This is what we've been dreaming of. This is what I've been dreaming of as a Spurs fan. I don't want a James Maddison and so on another name sat there thinking he can prance around the bloody pitch, thinking if I have a shit game, it don't matter. I'm going to be playing next week. This is what you want. I don't want this word backup used. I keep saying it. Backup is for losers, right? competition for places, competition for midfield, competition for goalkeepers, and this is great. Pape Sarr sitting on the sideline, and Madison's on the sideline. Romero,
if you're not 100%, Johnny, if you're sitting there thinking, shit, this 18-year-old is playing in my position, but he could also be playing in this person's position. Everyone on that bench is looking at each other, going,
we better up our game, boys.
Yeah. And you know what? What you hope then is not the outcome of that is selfishness, where they do things to try to be the hero that don't always pay off. You want them to play, and you hope that Ange is recognizing and rewarding teamwork because this system relies and depends on it. So, but like I say, it's a beautiful thing. Let's move forward, guys. We're going for. Oh, sorry, Johnny. Sorry, Dave. Go on, mate. Yeah.
Sorry, just quickly. I just wanted to say, if you think about the future of our midfield, Archie Gray is your number 6, Pape Matar Sarr and BERGVALL then as your 2 other midfielders ahead of him. I think when you actually look at that, we've got it all in terms of that midfield. You've got Archie Gray, who's solid defensively, but also very good on the ball. You've got Pape Matar Sarr, who's just a workhorse, gets around, disrupts play, which you need. It's key in your midfielder. And look, I know you have a problem with his passing slightly, but I think he's improving, as the more we see him. And I don't mind him taking them shots off the edge of the box. In fact, I'd be screaming for more players to do it. And the fact he hits target 99% of the time, I'm okay with him doing it. And then you look at BERGVALL, the way he can get around. I think that midfield tree in the future really excites me. Oh,
no, honestly, like we look back and say we had a wonderful, that Poch system, that Poch inherited that young dynamic group, right? And how good they were, and he was the coach that developed them, and we got to the Champions League final. Let's be honest, obviously, there's a lot of luck that went along the way there, but we have built under the auspices of the Don Paratici, and look, Johan Lang is under a lot of flack for some of the decisions regarding some of the transfers, but ultimately, some of the things that have been signed under his regard, thus far, it's early days, it's very early days, far too early to tell. You can't judge a director of football after a year, but we are at the point where looking at our youth nucleus and going, not just the people that are playing now, but the kids that are out on loan, the Jamie Donleys, the Vescovic, these guys that are coming back soon, Phillips, right? And you kind of going, this is what I did a video the other day. I'm not going to, in the interest of time, but I did a video about why is it that Tottenham don't win trophies, right? If you haven't checked it out, a lot of people didn't do very well in terms of numbers, but those that did watch it, I think appreciated it. And I spent a lot of time in the second half of that video talking about, you look at the teams that have had audacious success and what are the kind of the ingredients that make up these long periods of success over the last 75 years. And all of them had common denominators. One of them was resources. One of them was a figurehead, like a kind of leader of the club. It doesn't have to be a manager, but he usually is. But sometimes it can be a captain of a player, or it can be a director of football, or it can be an owner. But the other thing was a youth system that had a conveyor belt of talent that could be dripped into for different reasons. Some used them as participants in the team. Some used them as additional revenue sources. Some used them as ways to get around FFP and things. But ultimately, Tottenham do very well in the revenue generation. Tottenham don't have that leader. That kind of Bill Nicholson was the last version of it that we had. And it's difficult to see those things in the future because of the time that managers are afforded. But the youth system is a consistent thing. And Tottenham was, and under Don Paratici, and you boys have been a massive supporter of him. I am too. I'd love to see him come back in a formal role once his band's done. But his work in the youth system is starting to pay dividends. And we've got, like you say, Dave, an absolutely insanely talented group of players under the age of 23 at our club. And it's brilliant to see.
But look, what I will say is, and why I'm excited about it is because when you look at the Pochettino team, a lot of what he put together was already at the club in terms of youth. You know, Walker and Rose were being loaned around the place for quite some time. You know, he had Harry Kane there that was after coming through and things like that. And that's what really excites me. But what we done well is we sprinkled it with a Moussa Dembele, a Toby Alderweireld, you know, to sort of bring in that experience to guide that forward. And I think that's why it's important. And that's why I think it's important now to bring in that one or two players. I think they were looking at Son to be that guy, Maddison to be that guy. Look, Son, he's off it, right? Maddison, he's never going to be that guy. If he can't get himself on the pitch every week, then he's never going to be that guy in terms of leader that you look up to. And that's why I do think it's important now to sprinkle with 2 or 3 signings like that to really help it kick on.
And just the last thing I'll say on it, and then we'll move on to the last players in the yesterday's game. That with the revenue streams that we have coming in, obviously this season is going to be a bit of probably a damp squib with regards to our league position. But you know, people say, "Where's our Declan Rice? Right? Where's our Caicedo? Where's these guys?" Well, I'll just make the point again. Again, not to defend Daniel Levy, but just to point out the stats and the facts that you can't do that when you have to replace 20 players. But we're through the lion's share of that rebuild. We're through it. We've got this nucleus that is so young. To Dave's point and to Johnny's point previously, we need that additional help now. And it might not happen in January. It might not even happen this summer. But I'll bet 100 quid for charity with anyone who wants to take it on that within 18 months, within 2 years, we'll have had £100 million player at the club. And I genuinely say this. I don't know whether £100 million will buy you what £100 million does now or did before. But that's the way we're moving to. We have the revenues to compete. But we can't do it if you have 20 players to buy. But we don't need 20 more players. We need 2 or 3. That's all we need. And I think that maybe we're a little bit too soon for that. But in the summer or next summer, I would say if everything keeps going in the way it's going, then we don't need to make massive changes. We just need to sprinkle in a monster here and a wonderful player there. And that's why I know we always ask patience. And then people are 25 years of patience. I can't wait forever. It's not that far away.
But Sean, I've always said as well, you know, you keep chopping and changing managers every time they come in. You're always making that 100, 250 million, you know, spread over 9 positions. That's why consistency in the dugout is also key, so that you can build your squad to get it to that point, so that then you go, okay, we've got 150 burning a hole in our pocket. Who do we want to go after? You know what I mean? And I think, like you said, we are slowly getting to that point.
We are. The obvious other difficult part about that conversation, though, is if you're trying to get a £100 million player, he's obviously a top draw player, and you're competing with top draw clubs for that signature. And most of the other clubs around European football or within the Premier League that you're pitching against have the sales pitch of, well, we win trophies here. And that's why it's so important that Tottenham need a trophy as the kickstart, because the idea, as much as I said it as in jest, that all players that come here do win a trophy, they just don't win it at Tottenham, they win it straight afterwards. That's a gag, right? But the reality is that if Tottenham do want to be able to compete with Liverpool, we lost out on Luis Diaz because Liverpool have the draw and Tottenham don't. And that was a perfect example of what a player he would have been. Anyway, guys, we could talk about this on another show. Let's finish off with the team. Johnny, Becky was next up in the 10, started in the 10, had to drift out to the, started on the right, had to drift into the 10 when Bentancur went off. Thoughts on him yesterday?
He looked like a player that's been running to the ground. He didn't influence the game anywhere near like he would normally do. I'm not going to judge him whatsoever. You know, it was one of his worst performances in a while. But you know, I'm looking at the team overall. He tried hard, he committed hard, and you could see, you know, he was. What he tried to do and what he could do were 2 different things. I just think the legs were looking a little bit weary.
Yeah. Dave?
Look, I don't really have too much to add on to what Johnny's saying there without prolonging the show and just waffling. You know, I think Johnny's absolutely nailed it.
Okay. Love that. Yeah, let's move swiftly forward. Brennan Johnson on the right-hand side. Johnny, I'll come back to you, mate.
Well, guys, I've got a video of Brennan Johnson running across the pitch and making a really good tackle. He got stuck in. That's why I asked. I think he took some nasty pills beforehand. I don't know what happened. I don't know if someone had been psyching him up before the game. But listen, he didn't show a lot, but he worked hard. And that's why I asked of him. He tried to get stuck in, and I'd probably give him 6.5, 7, probably on the night overall. No more than that. I don't actually remember, apart from trying to cover back, him doing too much in the game. Maybe I missed something. Obviously, if you were watching on TV, you would have seen maybe more than I am. But I would say, 6. In fact, I'm going to go for a 6.5 for him.
Yeah, look, for me, Johnson, look, don't get me wrong, he sort of got going in the second, worked hard for a brief period. Started doing all right in possession. Again, just underwhelmed by, his overall sort of impact on the game. And I just got to be brutally honest. I feel like I know people may feel like I'm picking on the kid, but when I've watched David Aaron Lennon, Gareth Bale, Sonny all my life, I'm sorry, I can't tolerate it. It's not good enough. For me, I thought very underwhelming, and I'm going to hold the same energy for Son as well, so don't you worry.
Well, let's pivot straight into him then, mate. Sonny, again, for me, yeah, like I agree, concur with you on Brennan Johnson. I give him a really hard time. I actually thought he finished the game strong. Last 20 minutes, I thought Johnson was pretty good. He did work hard and did kind of was creating nice little triangles, but it's not enough. Like, one swallow doesn't make a summer, as Johnny says. And I'll give credit where it's due, but I'm going to hold you to the fire like I do everybody else. And Sonny, Dave, I'll let you start, but I think we probably will say the same thing here. But yeah, crack on with Sonny.
Do you know what? I am starting to become concerned that maybe these conversations around Son being past his best or past the peak of his powers, are maybe starting to come true. Look, this guy was sort of rested, to have this massive impact for this game today. And he just completely let us down. He was up against Conor Bradley. Don't get me wrong. Conor Bradley's a good player.
Yeah.
But he kept on giving away the ball in the first few minutes, kept on bringing Liverpool into trouble. And you're just thinking of someone of Son's quality, of his experience, and what he's done in this game. He should absolutely light this kid up. And he didn't take advantage of it. And just anytime the ball did come to Son, he kept on losing it, kept on giving it away. And when you look at him in that final third, he just doesn't have that, what's the right word? That little initial burst that he always had to sort of get away and create that half a yard for him to operate in. And I just thought, absolutely piss poor again. We spoke about Archie Gray, we spoke about BERGVALL, players stepping up, putting in performances like that. And that's what you want from your captain. And he just didn't deliver yesterday. Again, very underwhelming like he's been this season. And very, very poor. Very poor. Didn't have any impact on the game.
You know what amazes me? I didn't even see him firing people up. I didn't even see
his body language as a captain, Johnny, is atrocious. I've been saying it for a while.
Yeah, no, it was atrocious last night, and I was calling for him to come off at half time. That's how bad it was.
So was everyone in the chat. Am I watching on?
Oh, were they? Yeah, no, yeah. He was absolutely shambolic, and it's painful to watch him at the moment, because this was a kid. When I was watching him play in Germany, I was so excited that we were signing him. And then I was absolutely gutted that there was talk of him leaving because he wouldn't settle. And then Poch turned him round and he became the player that I always thought he would. But I don't know what's gone on now. I look at him and Mo Salah.
I think should we have given him an extra contract, mate?
Well, no, I think he's owed that. He is owed that contract. What he brings to this club, what he's brought to this club financially. Let's go back to that. I was just going to say on this game. Ange looked a bit annoyed with him at one stage before he came off, and even when he came off as a sub, his body language was absolutely shocking. I didn't see him, as Sean, saying, "Come on, guys." I didn't see that. I didn't see the work of a manager. Of a captain.
That's every game. That's every single game.
Yeah. It's really infuriating. And look, I know it's going to upset half of South Korea, but you know, when I look at Mohamed Salah and I look at Sonny, and there's 1 month in between them, but quite honestly, there's light years between them. They're playing football on different planets right now. You know, you've got one who is having the best season of his career potentially at the age of 32, and another one who's fallen off of a cliff. And you know, to say, oh, he's been playing every game and he's played more games. No, he hasn't. Mo Salah has played more minutes. He's played more games and more competitive games at Champions League level. There's no excuse for it. And I don't know what the answer is. We owe him.
The answer is less minutes. I asked Dave the question last night on the way home. Do you think that the contract protects the club, but there might be an intimation to sell him in the summer?
Yeah.
And Dave, you said,
yeah. I said, yeah, I do think that's the case. You know, if they really wanted to keep him around here longer and he's earned that contract, they would have negotiated a fresh contract. They didn't. They took up the option to extend his contract by a further year. And when you go back to Son's interview in November, you know, he sort of said, look, this could be my last season at the club. The club haven't come and had any discussions with me around the contract and that. And they didn't need to have any discussions with Son about extending his contract. You know, that's just an option they take, and he has no say in it whatsoever. I think the club are protecting themselves, and I think I think you could see Son leave in the summer, you know, if the right sort of amount comes in. I do think so, because when you look at it, I think you are seeing a player come to the end of his time at Tottenham. And I don't want it to go into a situation like Hugo Lloris where, look, I was probably guilty of it myself. I always said, look, thank you for your service. But the last year or two or the last few months just haven't been good enough. And I don't want Son to be remembered like that. I want Son to be remembered for what he's done at this football club.
Yeah.
And I just think for both parties, there needs to be a recognition here and potentially part ways in the summer for good.
I think for me, in all honesty, here is a guy, I don't think you guys realise, or people realise, his earning capacity from a advertising point of view. What he's been earning in Asia, it's astronomical. And he's not motivated by money anymore. You know, they've opened up schools, academies, all the rest of it in Korea. And it's not money that's going to drive this. I wonder whether or not he's going to be the mentor for Yang. And I think
the stuff around his dad has been affecting him.
Well, I just wonder whether or not they're going to bring this Yang through as quickly as possible and try monitoring shirt sales for Yang in South Korea, and to see whether, as one starts to wane, the other starts to pick up. Because you know, I think that that's the idea.
Maybe you could do a deal though. Maybe Tottenham could strike a deal with a team like Barcelona, right? Let him go and say
going anywhere. He's not going. I'm not saying right now. I'm saying like in the summer, do a deal, but rather than like the equivalent of like a sort of a sell-on fee. How about like a shirt sell-on fee where you say like we'll let him go for X amount of money or for not that much, but we want 20% of his Barcelona shirt sales or something like that, where you can sort of still, you know, get hold of that juice. It is what it is. So listen, what will happen? I'll ask you a question, Dave and Sean. Do you think if he left this season, that the tourism from South Korea would drop off a cliff instantly?
Yeah.
Or you do? Or yeah. Because I'm wondering now whether, having been here for this long, that some are, you think they're fair weather fans and would just drop off. And if I think they're fair weather
fans, I think they're Sunny fans that happen to support Tottenham. I think that 10-15% of them would retain a support of Tottenham because they love Tottenham because they've been a part of it for 10 years. But in terms of like, are they going to fly over from Korea to come to the UK for their holidays just to see a Tottenham game without Sunny here? No.
So you're going to choose going from up and down the high street and people coming out with bags and bags of stuff and dropping off.
It's going to be massively impactful on the not just the commercialization, because those people don't just buy Sunny stuff; they buy other things as well.
Correct.
There's a byproduct benefit of it's not all about it. Maybe Sunny's the catalyst, the direct link, but indirectly other things happen. But I'm just saying that, like, VIP, like, you know, Tottenham sell. I saw on Twitter today. This is embarrassing, by the way, and I think Daniel Levy, if he's responsible, whoever's responsible for this decision, is a joke. They said they were selling shirts, worn match day played shirts, player shirts from the game last night, and it said it was retweeted by the Tottenham Foundation, right? So a charitable thing. And it said part of the funds, part of the revenue from these shirts will go to the foundation. I was like, part?
I know.
Well, you see, saying that like some of it's going to go towards the revenue of the club. Give the fucking money to the charities. Like, what are we doing here? Are we nickeling? You're selling a Sunny shirt for £1,000 to probably a Korean fan, or 10 grand, or whatever it is. You're going to take that money and go, well, it's part of the revenue of the club. No, just fucking.
Well, listen, you know. What are we doing? I'll tell you how it is, right? I'll tell you how it is. And I'm going back to Carl Walker days, right? So I used to sit in the box with Carl Walker and some of the players that Base had at the time. And I was sat there and Carl Walker comes in with a bag and he throws the bag down and he's fuming. Why? Because he's got a bill from the club for his shirts, right? Okay.
Really?
Yeah. Because he's only allowed to give away X amount. Now, he's giving these shirts away to charity. He's not like signing them and giving them away to all his mates. These are going for charities and stuff like that. So it doesn't surprise me that you're
making £500 million a year as a football club. I think you should be able to swallow 50 grand that you sell from some worn shirts.
Yeah, one game.
Honestly, it's like
game. Like, so one game should go to a local hospice, or the second week home game should go to another charity. Every match.
I'm sure the club does generate a hell of a lot of money for charity. I'm not sitting here, and I don't know what the detail of the part of the money goes towards the foundation. But I'm just saying it should be all revenue. If you're selling football shirts that are worn, then that revenue shouldn't be something that goes back into paying Timo Werner's wages. That money should go towards a good cause. Like, it's not. That's not a revenue stream that is like, well done, Daniel Levy, for thinking outside the box. That's a shame on you, Tottenham Hotspur, for being a nickel and dimer. And I'm just not on board that crap, personally. But guys, listen, we've been going for 2 hours, 15 minutes. We've got one more player to talk about of substance. Dom Solanke. I love everything about this guy. I'm someone that always applauds hard work, and I think he is absolutely sensational. Unfortunate in the offside, micrometers. Dave, you were saying on the drive home that you thought the lines were drawn wobbly. I don't know. I haven't seen them, but it certainly looked like it was egregious when we saw it on the screen, the lines. But we only saw it for a fraction of a second. I love everything about Dominic Solanke. Anyone that tells me that he was a waste of money, I just don't agree with you. I can understand if you thought that maybe for 75 million we could have got Gyökeres or whatever. If that's the argument, then so be it. Could you spend your money differently? Fine. But in terms of the player, the value to the system, the fit, the effort, and the output, because he's 26 games, 17 GA already in half a season. I love him. I think he's brilliant. I love him. I love his celebration. And
what was that stat you brought up to me last night on the drive home about the big six or something like that?
What's that? Sorry?
Did you not give me a stat last night? His performances against the big six this season?
No.
Yeah, you did. You said it to me on the phone last night. You said about his goals and assists against the big six this season.
Oh, I know about the big six. I just said that he's got 16 GA this season in 26 appearances. I don't know about the big six specifically. I didn't say that. I don't think I did. If I did, I made it up because I don't know it now.
I'm pretty sure you said it to me last night. Maybe I'm
pretty sure out live on air.
No, he had a really good stat. Apparently he performs against the big teams this season. I think
that must be someone else.
Surprised me with it.
Definitely wasn't me. Oh, there you go. In 8 games. What's that? Hang on, here we go. Paul Bean, 5 goals and 3 assists versus the big six in 8 games.
You did give me that yesterday.
I didn't give that to you. I've never
you
seen
did.
that
You gave it to me on the phone line
because
we were talking about Nike.
It wasn't me. I didn't say that to you last night. It was someone else.
Maybe it was. Look, maybe it was. I'm convinced it was you, but maybe it was someone else. But look, when it comes to Dom Solanke, don't get me wrong. I think, bar the last 20 minutes where he scored that goal and was disallowed, I thought he was piss poor on the night, especially in possession and stuff like that. Don't get me wrong, worked his nuts off out of possession chasing down, but you know, for a guy to have that energy to chase that ball down that he did from Pedro Porro, and not only that, shoulder off a fresh Kanate and shoulder strength and play that ball into BERGVALL was brilliant. Look, I think he definitely needs help in here. I think you're seeing a player that is, you know, run his legs off. You know, come 65, 70 minutes there, you could see it yesterday, you know, and when he doesn't have that energy to press, Tottenham drop, and it just sort of invites trouble. So for me, I didn't think it was his best game in a Tottenham jersey yesterday. However, he got the assist for BERGVALL's goal in the end.
For me, work rate, commitment, right? 9 out of 10, yeah? But I do believe that he's not top tier. He's not top tier. He's not a top tier. He is our striker, and therefore we love him because he's given it all and he's trying his best. But
would you rather him or would you rather have Darwin Núñez in the team?
No. But I didn't want Darwin Núñez. I wanted Gyökeres, right? And for 10 million more, I think we get more of a technical player. And a player that offers more. You know, we talk about and talk about
more, but there's no English tax, mate.
No, I understand that, but what I'm saying to you is that we talk about having a flexible striker, someone who can play in various positions across the front. MUANI can play out wide, or he can play through the middle. I think he's okay. He's a handful. I don't think he's technically brilliant. I think he's physically very strong. But I think he's a tier down from what I class as top tier strikers. I'm not being horrible here because I thought we had a good game. He tried hard. You know, you can't argue with the stats. I'm not disputing his goals. I'm not disputing anything. I think he needs to get better service. He scored one headed goal all season, and that's because we're not servicing him. You know, let's look how many goals he scored for Bournemouth last season, and that's because Ange, I believe, isn't using him properly. He should be playing off the shoulder.
He's not scoring that few. He's already on 10 goals for us.
No. I'm just saying. If he played off the shoulder of the last man, like you saw with Kanate in those last minutes, right, before to set up BERGVALL's goal, that is his strength. Not dropping deep, aka Harry Kane, because you're not going to be spraying a ball 20 yards across the other side of the pitch and have time to run back to get into the middle. I want him to work that front line, get the balls in across him, and he'll start scoring goals. I still think he's going to. He should score, Peter. He should be scoring 15 to 20 goals, especially with the way we play. But I still think he's not. No one's ever going to say Dom Solanke world class, in my opinion. Okay, I think if you
but what does world class mean to you? I
say world class. Maybe it's a often easily thrown around term. I would say,
though, Johnny, I do understand what you're saying. Like, I think to maybe put it out there is, when I was growing up in an era watching the Premier League, if you didn't hit 20 goals, you were an average striker. But I think now, because there's such short supply of strikers that can do that consistently, I do think everyone's probably guilty of lowering their standards of a good striker. But to the point, Dom Solanke's on the market, Gyökeres, but outside of Gyökeres, Vlahovic and Harry Kane, what other sort of really strikers are there at a certain level?
Well, there aren't. Exactly.
Dom Solanke has the English tax. If Dom Solanke was called Dominique Solankiski or something, he would be 40 million quid, right? And then you're getting what you're paying for.
Listen, Sean, I'm not blaming him for the price. I'm not blaming him for the price. There's nothing to do with him. I'm just saying you're 100% spot on. I'm just saying for me, when I look at strikers that excite me, he's not the type of guy who's going to pick up the ball for me and drive left, drive right, technically bamboozle someone and pang one into the top corner.
I disagree. I think he's got delicious feet. I agree with you guys that the system.
Because you've got a foot fetish, but that's for another show.
By the way, Johnny and I are starting a 4th YouTube channel. It's called
Delicious Feet. Delicious Feet. Delicious Feet. That's
actually not a bad name, to be honest, on a football channel. I genuinely think that Dom Solanke, I agree with you guys that he's playing in a role that's a sacrificial lamb, right? And I think that there's very few strikers in the world that are going to be like are able to sort of spread their wings and show all their best traits when you have to do what you're. Yeah, exactly. So I don't disagree with you on that statement, but I genuinely think that people are sleeping on what value he brings to this system. And I think that it is a system that is not about individuals. It's about what you bring to the table. The sum is greater than the past when it hums. And I would also say that the absence of quality on the right and the left makes his job even more harder. And if you bring in a brilliant left winger and you bring in a brilliant right winger, or if we already have them, but they're injured, I don't know. Pedro Porro. Fine, right? But if you were to fix those 2 spots here and here, his numbers go up 30-40%. And his numbers are already not that bad. But people want to focus on the fact that he's not Harry Kane. He was always given the poison chalice because he was taking over from Harry Kane. And where I would also agree with you is that he needs, like, if you look at our striker options, what have we got? Will Lancashire, Richalison, and Solanke. Does that strike terror in? No, it doesn't, right? It doesn't. But I'd say you sell Richarlison. I know, Johnny, I know he's your boy. I'm not a fan of him. I never have been. Not because he came to Tottenham. I was never a fan of him at Everton either. I'm just not a fan of the player. But if you go and bring in insert someone else there that gives Solanke some rest, some options, a different style, a different profile of striker, we need to up our game. So you bring in a second striker that's different profile, but also valuable, and you fix those 2 things out there, and then Dom Solanke can fly. And I think that anyone that's judging him harshly now, I think you're missing the wood for the trees on that one for me.
Yeah, we're not saying. Look, I'm not for 1 minute saying he's not good or he's not. I'm just saying he's below top tier, but we love him because he's the best of what we've got and what he does. But I would say this, and I'll say this again. Just like Emery did with Ollie Watkins was dropping deep. He was going left. He was going right. Work on the last man. Work the centre-backs, right? And put the balls in. It's no coincidence that Iraola got him scoring goals last year with his head, with the balls coming in. That ball from Pedro Porro enabled Solanke to do what he does best, attack the cross and head that ball in. And I just want to see more of it. I feel like he's starved of his best attribute. Get the ball wide. Whip those balls in. First-time balls. Let him attack it.
But I think that's where you sort of build the attack around them, right? And I think, we tried to build the attack and then bring the striker in to fit it. And I think maybe you've gone the wrong way around it there. I think you've got to bring the striker in and then build the supply around that. And I think maybe we're learning that.
Yeah. By the way, Deli, we were talking about how well he did late in that game. That's my whole point was if he plays off the shoulder of the final man of the centre-back, he's got the strength to hold up the ball and play others in, which is exactly what he did for BERGVALL's goal. If he was dropping deep, picking that ball up, what use is if he at that position? We need him on the edge of the box.
I also think if you had a bit of stiff competition, you might even see him up his games to, his level to a certain degree. Look, to Sean's point, I think many people sort of realise what he brings to the system, the work rate he provides and stuff like that. But I think what we're trying to say is he that elite level finisher that maybe we need in front of goal? And look, time will only tell if you give the guy the service. And I do agree with Sean. I've said this myself all season long, despite me having my reservations about Solanke being that guy. I can't criticize the guy in that department until he gets the supply that's needed on a regular basis. So, I think everyone recognizes what he does. It's just we need to give him more supply, more opportunities. Honestly, if I'm Dom Solanke, I'm going ballistic. I'm going absolutely ballistic. I'm screaming at Johnson because if you're Dom Solanke, right, Johnson gets the ball out right, let's say, and if he does cross it, the first cross he goes near post, Dom Solanke goes right, next one I'll go near post. Johnson then goes far post, and it's just like, for God's sake. I actually think what Solanke needs to do is get the forward players together and say, this is where I want the ball. You deliver it here. If I'm not there, that's my problem. But apart from that, that's where I want the ball delivered. And I just wonder, is he too shy because he's only new at the club to sort of assert that sort of dominance? Because if you think Harry Kane didn't have them conversations with Son or other players or Ericsson, players around him like that, you're sadly mistaken. Of course he did. And I just think maybe that's an area where Dom Solanke could probably take the onus on himself to try and get more out of these fuckers around him.
Yeah, listen, it's a brilliant little segment there. I didn't think we were going to spend 8, 9, 10, whatever it was, 10 minutes talking about Dom Solanke. It's a great little debate though, and we can have it again next week, boys. I'm not going to worry about Timo because he only got some minutes. I think we all know how we feel about Timo.
Subs, are we?
No, we're not. I've got one last topic for you though, just quickly to finish it off. Ange Postecoglou, the manager. Did you think he picked the right team? His subs, his effort on the sidelines, his post-match press conference, his anger towards the lino, what's your thoughts on Ange? Because I genuinely think that he's under incredible scrutiny right now, and some would say he's kind of somewhat feeling the pressure and saying things that are not consistent and all these things. And I hear all that stuff. I'm liking the fact that he's starting to utilize the dark arts. I said when Sonny was coming off, he said, "Sonny, sit down." I've never seen him be as animated, telling Sonny to sit down so that we can press pause and wind down 30 seconds of the clock. I like the fact that he's calling out the referee or the situation with regards VAR and all that stuff and the yellow card system. I like the fact that he's berating the lino, putting pressure on him. I like all these things that we haven't seen before. And for what it's worth, anyone that is still anti-Ange, primarily because you think he is a one-trick pony and that there is no adaptation, then I would argue open your eyes and look at the last 180 minutes of football, because if you think that is the same version of football that we have seen for the previous 18 months, then I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what game you're watching. I would argue that whether it's by hook or by crook, whether it's forced or otherwise, there is massive tweaks to the system, and it's a brilliant thing. And I want to hear your boys' takes on Ange and what you thought. What would you rate him, I guess, on his performance yesterday?
Oh, we'll let Johnny go first. He's been the biggest critic.
Yeah. Yeah. Look, I said to you, I think the devil's advocate yesterday and on Last Word of Spurs as well, I said that I would be only too delighted if I'm sat here in May and we picked up a trophy and we're in the middle of the table and I'll sit here and I'll say, I got it wrong. I want the club to succeed. I want him to succeed. The fact that I feel like his system is flawed, I'm not going to take that back. But when I look at what he did against Newcastle, a little bit against Wolves, what he did against Newcastle and what he did yesterday, it was really encouraging. I saw an animated, Ange getting feisty. He was on his knees on the ground, thumping the ground, at one stage. He was berating people. He was shouting from the side. The finale, I posted a video on Twitter of the celebrations after the game and the way he was hugging Jed Spence and BERGVALL and the keeper and everything. And if you haven't watched it, go and watch it, because it really filled me with a lot of hope.
Was that because it's Liverpool, though, Johnny? Because we haven't seen it in other games, and he is a Liverpool fan, so maybe he's delighted to beat them. You think that's why?
Yeah, no, listen, it could be anything, Dave. It could be anything. But I was watching it, and I was thinking, who's the guy on the sideline? Yeah. Has someone slipped him something into his Castlemaine Forex? I'm not quite sure. But there was something different about him in that game. Look, I want him to succeed. He changed it up yesterday. Well, before you came on, Dave, I did say, I'd like to think that even if the team comes back and we get our full strength team, that he's mindful to change it depending on the opposition. We are in a situation now where we're very fortunate with the players that are going to come back, having thrown these kids into the deep end. We're going to have lots of options now when these our injuries clear up, and I'd like to see him change it up depending on who we're playing. If we have got a low block, as we were talking about before, Dave, and we're not able to break it down, bring on the right players, play the right players, change your tactics. Maybe try and draw them in. But listen, last night was very encouraging, as was the game against Newcastle. Even though we lost, there was things that I really liked about that game. I just thought Newcastle were very smart in how they allowed us to have the ball because they believed that they could shut us down. Our attack is not gelling. I'm not going to have it right now. There's something not quite 100%. People always focus on our defence. It's our defence is costing us. I hear you, but I don't think our attack is working properly, and that is down to our wingers. That is down to Sonny and Brennan Johnson not being at the races for 90 minutes. And I think if we can cure that, I think then we can really see the true ANGEBALL, that we can judge where we're going from here on in. But I hope he carries on delivering, and I hope this is the start of a run. And how great would it be to go to the Emirates in just over a week's time and do the business?
Look, we still got a lot of work to do on the medical side.
Yeah,
I'm delighted for Ange that we got a result finally. The boys kept their heads up. They kept playing for him. Yesterday was just a galvanizing effort. They played for the boys. They played for the manager. They played for us, the fans. And it was sensational. The atmosphere in the stadium at the end there was brilliant. I did my post-match press conference. It was deafening. I couldn't hear myself think because I was up on the third tier, by the way. Like I'd stayed upstairs. I had to go down one and then to the bottom to get to the point where they're banging on the stairwells and singing their songs. And I don't know if you could pick it up if anyone that's watched the video. But it was so noisy, and it was all about Ange Postecoglou, all that thing. And we're going to Wembley. It was just brilliant. It was the first time in months that I've seen that kind of that energy from the fans. It felt different. It felt like it was the re-emergence, the catalyst. Now, Tamworth next. Let's hope there's no banana skin there. Great chance for us to put out some of the young boys that we spoke about earlier, guys. And then we got Arsenal and Everton after that. 2 tough games. They don't come it doesn't get easier in the Premier League. There's games you look at every game and you see it as a potential situation where you can hope for the best and also plan for the worst. But I just think that what I saw yesterday for me, as I said in that post-match game, if you're someone that has faith in Ange, if you're someone that has, despite all of the reasons to feel like you want to pivot towards the woe is us, if you're someone that wants to find reasons to have faith and invest in the positive things, then you should have seen enough yesterday to maintain that belief. And if you're someone that's woed towards that side where you're kind of going, it's not good enough, I'd urge you to recognize that if you want him gone, Daniel Levy has never demonstrated any real ability that can give you faith that we're going to have anything other than a Ryan Mason coming in. It's the wrong time. We spoke about all this yesterday. I'm just so chuffed with the boys. It's only half time, so much to go. Johnny, I want to say a massive thank you to you, mate. You're always here, part of the furniture. Love you to pieces. I can't wait to start our channels with you. Dave, absolute sensation, mate. I bet you thought you were probably just popping on for the last half of the show. It ended up being a 2-hour and 40-minute marathon. Boys, what's coming up? Dave, coming up on the Irish Hotspur? Oh, yes. Yeah,
I just want to say quickly on Ange Postecoglou, and I'm going to be very, very quick because I know the boys have things to do. Look, I think what you're seeing, the people that have faith in Ange Postecoglou are people that have proof and have witnessed what he's done at other clubs. A lot of the people that don't have faith in Ange Postecoglou are only taking him off face value on what he's done at Tottenham Hotspur since his arrival because they don't have prior knowledge of what he's done at other clubs and they haven't witnessed it. And I think that's key. I was fortunate enough to witness at Celtic. That's why I'm willing to sit by these tough times because I know the fruits that can come of it if we get this right. But with Ange Postecoglou, I think, if you're a guy that has criticised his management, I think the fact that he's managed to keep players on board and from reports that have come out, they're not looking for a way of changing of playing and stuff. I think deserves massive credit when previous managers have lost squads going through tough periods. I think that's something that you got to take out of it, that players clearly want to play from. So his man management is good. And you look at yesterday's game, Sean, you spoke about adaptation, and many people say he's stubborn, he doesn't adapt. Well, he played more long balls and higher proportion of the long passes against Liverpool than we have in any other competition or game this season. So he is making these adaptations to try and...
More long balls in the last 180 minutes of football than in the entire season.
Yeah, exactly. You know what I mean? So he's finding ways and he is adapting. And, you know, he's given more youngsters and played more youngsters and given them their opportunities than any other manager previous since Pochettino. So I think there is a lot to get behind with Ange Postecoglou. And when you look at the cup run, we've knocked out Man United, Man City, and we've given ourselves a chance going into the Carabao Cup second leg. I remember when we had Conte in here against Chelsea, we were done after the first leg. We were completely out of it, you know, in the semi-finals and that. And, you know, my lifetime, Tottenham's biggest problem has always been taking the big scalps. I used to get, you know, ridiculed in school because everyone else picked the easy route, take the top teams, you know, and, you know, now I'm getting to the point where we are beating these teams routinely, and it's only the smaller teams where you have problems against. But let's be brutally honest, that can be sorted out. That can be dealt with. And I think
far
for
easier
me,
to fix that problem than not being able to beat the top four. Right?
exactly, because not being able to beat the top four does come down to quality, etc., etc. But we've demonstrated that we can do that on a regular enough basis. So for me, I would hope that many people have probably watched last night and said, you know what? Let me hold fire. Let me reassess. And I would hope a lot of the pressure and scrutiny is off this club and Postecoglou. And let's just see what comes of the second leg.
Can I just say a bit of news? I mean, it's incredible. You know, we know that the West Ham manager,
Potter now.
He's gone, and Parker's come in, and now Sean Dyche, who's done an unbelievable job with no funds whatsoever. There's talk of that Fonseca or Jose Mourinho is going to come in for him. I don't know how true that is.
To who? Sorry? Wait, Lopetegui left West. Wait,
yeah,
sorry. You're saying Lopetegui left West Ham? Yeah, okay, sorry, I'm with you now. Sorry.
Yeah, no. So I'm saying
Jose Mourinho's going to Everton.
Jose or Fonseca. What I'm saying to you is, you know, whatever we say about Levy, you know, whether he's standing by to protect himself because he's backed him, but you know, West Ham sacked their manager, Everton, and I think Sean Dyche has done an unbelievable job over the last 2 seasons, considering the pressures and what's gone on. He doesn't even have a striker or one that's fit. And he doesn't have a great squad. The fact that he's even managing to grind out, but there's talk about him going and Fonseca, and so I think we've shown, you know, that we are back in Ange because you know, I think back in the day, Levy would have already pushed that button.
Sniffer, we'll see you in the final, my man. We'll see you in the final. Good luck to you. It's about time that another name got put on that trophy.
No. Ange and Conte, I'm not having that. I'm not having that. Ange and Conte in the same breath.
And anyway, don't come in here running your mouth, because if Postecoglou doesn't work out, we'll take Eddie Howe. So you better pray he works out.
Yeah.
Nah, Sniffer's a good guy. Sniffer's a good guy.
No, I'm only messing with him.
Thanks a lot, guys.
Boys, yeah, wonderful show. Wonderful show. Appreciate everyone. Thank you very much for the super chats. Have I got through them all? I think I did. Oh, no, sorry.
No, you don't. You have a few there.
Sorry. I think we got the. It's too soon. We saw that one. I was ready for Steve D. Thank you very much. Aperv Kumar. Thoughts on KOLO MUANI? In my opinion, the ideal winter window, considering our position, should be MUANI, Douglas, Luiz, and a left-footed centre-back. Listen, I only found out yesterday from I know the guy on the walkthrough talked about. I think he was saying a different Aston Villa player. Douglas Luiz is up for sale from Juventus, right? They don't want him, and I'd love to see him come in. He's an absolute monster. Bring him in on a loan if you can.
Fabio likes him.
We might have the 6 and the 8s that we need in a year's time, but there is an angle to say that you need a monster to come in now. I've been calling for a monster 6 for a long time. I've got no problem I love Douglas Luiz. He's absolutely brilliant. So get that guy in, and left-footed centre back. Don't mind that at all, Perv. Completely agree with you, mate. Thank you very much for the super chat. I'm sorry for the delay in getting it out there. And also Paul Markey, was that half an hour ago? All I'll say is Archie Beckenbauer Gray.
Good call. Good call. I see where you're going with that one. If you see how he plays, I get it.
Thank you very much, guys. Really appreciate everyone. Dave, what's coming up on the Irish Hotspur? What is 100% coming up as soon as Dave needs me is a Sean Butler appearance over there. It's been a long time, and I need to get back onto that. The mothership, as Dermatron calls it.
Yeah, well, we're hoping to add you in on the Tuesday shows that we do with Johnny and Sam. So that'd be absolutely brilliant. Look, what's coming up today? we're definitely going to do a Twitter reacts, you know, go through Twitter socials about last night's game and stuff. Probably get on that in the next half an hour, 45 minutes. And then, you know, we'll take it from there. But look, really appreciate the invite for today's show. Hopefully, you know, I feel like I've prolonged it because usually it's you two doing these game breakdowns and that. But yeah, having a third has probably prolonged it. But I've enjoyed it. Thank you very much. And everybody enjoyed it. Enjoyed the result yesterday. Boys,
Johnny, what is you got a spaces coming up, Johnny?
Space will be on Monday. We find that lots of people are doing lots of spaces. I'd rather do one space that lasts, you know, a couple of hours. So we're going to probably do one on Monday because we will discuss what's gone on, and then obviously the big game coming up on Wednesday. I'm on Last Word of Spurs with you, I believe, tomorrow night, where we'll be talking about all the amazing signings that we would have completed by the time we get on the show tomorrow night. And that's it, really. I'm not going to Tamworth. I thought I'd have a day off, well-deserved day off. They wanted 100.
The youngsters play, Johnny.
What's that?
You're not going to see the youngsters play?
No. Listen, I'd rather go watch the under-18s play, you know, or the under-21s play. But listen, I want to see Yang. I want to see Mikey Moore. I want to see Dorrington. I want to see the youngsters take on Tamworth with some old pros sat on the bench that, if necessary, they can come on and clean it up. But pray God, no more injuries. Thank you very much. And what a great show, guys. And thanks everyone for watching. Please give me a follow down here or on Instagram, Talking Tottenham 1882. And
just smash the links, guys. They're right there. 1, 2. Just hit that link that's there. Open up a new tab. Just hit the follow button or the subscribe button.
Long way to go. I've hit 100. Only 5,900 behind where I was last week.
Lads, you're absolutely champions. Look, nearly 3-hour show. Never intended to be that long. I hope everyone enjoyed it. Love you all. Thanks to all the super chats, and thank you for all the support of the channel. And like I say, keep an eye out for Johnny and I. We'll be bringing out. We're thinking about calling it Football Inc., as in INC, like incorporated and inclusive and all this stuff. We got some shenanigans to be putting out there. Anyway, guys, maybe we're going to call it. What was it? Delicious Feet as well. Maybe that's the option.
Or Football Stinks.
Love you all. Come on, you Spurs. Into the final we go if we can beat Liverpool in a month's time. But before then, we got.
You're on their way to Wembley.
Keep a lookout, guys. If there's any chance, we'll be seeing it right here this evening. Until then, like, subscribe, and comment. And as always, come on, you Spurs.